Friends, welcome. August 11th, 2024, Virtual Strangers, episode 219 is on the air. I, of course, am your host, Wes. With me, as always, is my good friend, Ruuts, and our special guest from PSVR Underground. Oh, wait a minute, did I do that right? I'm supposed to say, from the Underground, PSVR Underground. It's AJ, everybody. Say hello. Hi, AJ. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. No, thank you guys for having me during this very special occasion. This is the second time only that I've joined you. I feel like I should have been here like at least like 30 more times than this. But it's always a pleasure and good to see you, Ruuts. Beard's looking sexy as always. And hello, all the strangers in the chat. I actually... Disclaimer, I listen to this show, your guys' show, like almost every single morning when I get up, because, you know, there's just never enough VR content and discussion that I can consume. It's endless. I'm a bottomless pit for that. So I appreciate all the hard work you guys do. I know a lot of work goes into these things firsthand, you know, and yeah, so thank you for keeping me entertained while I get ready every single morning and head to work.
We hear that a lot, don't we, Roots? That people listen and watch in the morning because we're so fucking late every time. I know we're going on at like 9:20 or whatever here East Coast time, and that might seem a little late, but it's actually kind of early compared to what we've been doing over the last 4 to 6 weeks.
Seems super early, actually, and it's actually makes sense. You know, I was thinking, wow, I didn't see anybody pop in, because that's the thing. I see every week. There's always at least one person, usually multiple people, that come in and say, "Hey, just wanted to say it's too late for me. I'm gonna watch this tomorrow," and I always get a little crack up from it because I appreciate everybody that comes here and does that, and then I appreciate the fact that if you're not gonna watch it live, you're gonna watch it after the fact. So I think it's cool.
Absolutely. AJ, it's an exciting occasion, right? I mean, you're here. That's exciting enough, but the reason why you're here is even more exciting. You know, we've been talking behind the scenes for 2 or 3 months now about when this day would actually come, and it's here. The PlayStation VR2 is now usable as a PC VR headset, and it seems like a fitting opening salvo into, you know, the rest of the year. We've been in a bit of a slow season with regard to VR releases, and we're just now starting to shake that off. VR game showcases this week, Gamescom's next week, and now all of these PSVR2 gamers are finally getting their first taste of PC VR, and it's an exciting time, and I'm glad you're here to share it with us.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, super, super exciting. I've been really, you know, after the announcement that PSVR2 was getting PC support, actually back in February, I bought a PC, and, you know, I've been a console gamer for, I don't know,
forever
15, 20 years, basically forever. When I think about the last PC I had, besides the one that I built for like streaming and stuff, around 2019, before that, in terms of like gaming, like being a pure PC gamer, I have to go all the way back to like 1998 or like 2000s with like StarCraft and like EverQuest, and I'm just like, man, yeah, no, it's been a while, but it's good to jump back in. A lot of things have changed, and yeah, over the last couple of months, I spent a lot of time getting up to speed on everything so that I could be a little bit more better prepared and be here with you guys here today having this really fun discussion that I'm extremely excited about.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited to kind of get into the nuts and bolts a little bit here, and tell the people what the headset's actually capable of, what it's good at, what it's not so good at. I'm excited to uh, I'm excited to learn how many people are coming along on this ride with this. I feel like there's quite a few. Even since this thing got announced, I've noticed quite a few of the game cats coming over and talking about, you know, either playing, using their PSVR on their PC or building a PC so that they can. and I'm really curious as to how many are in now, how many are still working toward it. I'm going to put a little poll up in the chat
Yes.
here just to find out how many that's watching tonight have already made the jump. But it's exciting. It's exciting because, I mean, for a lot of reasons. It's exciting because we have new people that are going to be able to check out the PC exclusives, which are, some of the all-time great games available on PC. But I'm super excited for everyone that's getting in and getting a chance to check out UEVR, because with beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's been the story of the year when it comes to VR, and has been so much of what we've been focusing on over the last few months. Um, so
That was
yeah,
the straw
excited for
that broke
everybody.
the camel's back for me, man. That was like when I'm like, all right, it's time. It's time to jump in. This is what I want. So, Brian and I over at Without Parole have been talking about how much we love hybrid games for a long time, and like this is like the ultimate like hybrid games formula, and we get to do it, kind of do it ourselves here. If developers don't want to do it, then say okay, we'll do it ourselves now. Shout out to Prey Dog and all that crew for the magic that they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's the most exciting thing in my opinion in VR. Like I think VR would be for me. I don't even know if I would want to play. I mean, not that there's not good games, and I go to classics, and there's good games coming out, but like there's so much that I want to play on these flat games, and everything in this UEVR mod, and every time I turn around, there's games like Chained Together that I bought flat to play flat, and then I end up playing in VR with Wes. And I'm like, fuck, man. I didn't even know I'd be playing this game with Wes because Wes doesn't play flat games. Now I'm getting to play with Wes on a stream. It was cool, and it just came out of nowhere. I just think that's one of the coolest things is that everything is seeming to be UEVR or Unreal Engine, all the good ones anyway. So
Now, you remember how long we waited on this mod to come out? Like it seemed like forever, and I mean they announced it probably well over a year before they released it, and we kept asking why. What's taking so long? Why don't they just let us have it? Now we know why. I mean, this is a complete, fully fleshed out suite of tools for anyone who wants to learn how to fully take advantage of it and build mods for themselves. But the beauty of it is you don't have to do all that. Like, you if you're content with playing with a gamepad, this is plug and play, baby. You just you open up your game, you hit the button, and you go. Um, which is AJ is mostly what Roots and I have been doing. Has just been playing gamepad games, but you went all in from day one, right? Been playing first person with motion controls most of the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the shoe fits, right? Like some
right.
games I like to play first person with motion controls because there's got to be a balance, right? Like a lot of VRAF games, they tend to be lacking a little bit of content, and then a lot of hybrid games sometimes lack a little bit of those VRAF features. So I really like to just try a little bit of everything, and it's kind of just the mood I'm in, or whatever. I do agree that being able to play VR sitting down is definitely an underrated feature to have, because yeah, when you're working all day and you're really tired, you just want to sometimes just relax and game, and you just don't have the energy to be like standing and doing all that physical activity, physical movement. But yeah, man. I have definitely, especially with some of the tools provided, have been applying first person and motion controls where it deems to fit well.
Awesome, awesome. So I don't want to get too far into the conversation here, because we have not yet said hello to our friends in chat, and we've had a couple of tips already. Virtual Resistance with the $5 US donation says, "Let's go PSVR2 PCVR." Thank you, Virtual Resistance, for the donation. We appreciate it. We also have Grandpa Barbecuer Game Cat with the $5 Australian. Says Roots, Wes, finally decided on my PC yesterday. I settled for a Gigabyte GeForce RTX 4070,
Nice.
WindForce overclocked, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and of course GDDR6X for the graphics card. So basically, Roots, he's got the equivalent of my 3080 Ti. I think is what this is. 12 gigabytes of VRAM. And yeah, overclock 4070 should be right around what I've got, right?
Yeah, I love those letters OC on there. Anything that's extra, man. I just like the extra boost. Give me an overclock. I think it's good. So
Yeah, awesome. Not sure, Brondo, $10 US. Awesome show as always. Exciting times indeed. Yeah. I don't think there's ever been such exciting times since the beginning of when we first kind of all got into VR. Like, of course, we all look back at those first days with a ton of nostalgia because that was the most magical time for all of us, and we're all still spending all of our time and money chasing that dragon to kind of get back to what it felt like the first times that we put the headset on. And nothing will ever match that. But these times today, now that we're able to play so many of these bigger double and triple A games, it's pretty close, man. I'm getting more of those wow moments now than I've had in quite some time.
I was gonna say, playing Half-Life Alyx with a haptics vest and a PSVR2 on a PC, shit's getting wild. It's getting crazy out here, getting exciting again, like you said.
Yeah. Especially if you would have gone back a year ago or 2 years ago and said, you know what, laid out what's happening right now. People would say, you're full of shit. That's not, no one expected Sony and Steam to collaborate and everything to come to PC. I mean, I guess some people did. We kind of threw some things out there. I just wanted to throw out there that I've got a 4090 for Awesome Tatum because he said, I bet Roots brings up his 4090.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy. Can I touch the beard?
Yeah, but that was one of the one. But on a serious note, though, everybody gave me shit when I got my 4090 because it was really expensive, and everybody at that time was upgrading to the Quest 3, and I said, you know what, I'm going to pass on the Quest 3, and everybody acted like it was crazy, and then now everybody's scrambling to get video cards.
In fairness, we were much more critical of your Quest Pro purchase than we were the 4090. but yeah, good point.
Well,
point
maybe
taken.
not you so much. I'm just saying a lot of people in general were giving me shit for getting it for several months actually, and now it's like I'm hearing everybody wanting to get something, and I just feel like in some ways I was a little ahead of the curve, and I don't even give myself credit. I feel like God had everything fall into place to where all of a sudden I had this amazing computer, and I wasn't even really realizing how it was setting up until it was almost done, and then I was like, oh my God, this is happening, and it's been the best thing to be able to play these games on day one. Tatum with my 4090 has been amazing. So,
well, one thing being kind of new, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
Being kind of new to PC VR stuff and PC gaming, it was a lot to learn. And one thing, I think the first hard lesson I learned is that people like running a VR game with like good graphic settings and everything, it basically requires a futuristic supercomputer. And what I'm noticing is that, like, you're talking about getting the 4090. Luckily, right now, it seems like the PCs and the graphics cards and everything that's coming out at a consumer level are finally starting to, like, this feels like the beginning of that power that's available to mass audiences, mass consumers and everything out there. Because I just, like, prior to the last year or two or last couple of years, I'm like, I don't know how anything ran any of this stuff with like the highest settings possible, because it takes some major horsepower to do this stuff.
Yeah, it does for the most part. I know the native VR games are pretty manageable.
Yeah.
The ones from bigger studios. Obviously, the ones from smaller indie studios tend to be a little less optimized.
Mm.
But like the bigger ones, like the Oculus exclusives, some of them, not all of them, of course, and the Half-Life Alex. I think Half-Life Alex would run on any damn thing, man.
Yeah.
And it's so well optimized that you can put that thing on like low settings. It's still beautiful, and you can run it literally on like a 10 series card. But you're right with these mods through the UEVR injector, they're very, very resource intensive, some of them.
Yeah.
And that's really what's kind of opened up, I think, the appetite for people to kind of have something more. And you're right, like starting with the next generation of graphics cards, 3090, 4090, those were always sold by NVIDIA as not for gamers. Those are for professionals, or that's why they cost so much. They're 16, 17, $1,800. This next generation will be the first generation where we see cards with that type of power that they're saying is for gamers, and that's significant, especially for us VR gamers. That we really need that power. But honestly, my 3080 Ti surprised me today, as I was playing through some of these games, because I had put it in 120 hertz mode, and I forgot that I did that.
Hmm.
And I left it there, and it like I didn't have any trouble, man, running it in 120, which really surprised me, because I know on my WMR headset sometimes just running at 90 is a struggle, and it certainly can be a struggle on the Quest headset. So the fact that the PSVR has run as well as it did at 120 just really kind of blew my mind and impressed me. Not just for like the software on the PSVR2, but the graphics card in general really held up well.
Which game? Do you remember? Because
Well, most of it was the Tetris Effect. That's why I
okay,
set it up.
that's
Was Tetris Effect.
such a big difference in Polybius as well. For the
I
120,
love Polybius.
it was so good. Now I'll tell you what, this is the thing. I realized with this headset, because I'm using a Quest Pro, which is high fidelity, but not as high as the Quest 3. Never used something like the Reverb. I my I would have probably crashed your thing. I went into Vertigo 2, and I had already had everything set on Epic. Epic everything. Just the game, okay? This isn't a UEVR mod. And I was seeing ghosting, right? And I had to turn it down to medium to get the ghosting to go away. And this is the first time that it opened my eyes that like I could use a 5090 even, really. Like all of us at some point, even a 4090 with some of these games, or even the UEVR mod, it would have crashed probably your computer, or you know what I mean, or not, or the game. And it made me think of when your Reverb, you said some games just crash and then you kind of have to scale them back. Well, I had to scale mine back. It didn't crash it, but it opened my eyes to how much you can really, really make these things look amazing with that, and how much it's sucking out of there. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And man, I really don't want to get into it too much right now, but just a kind of FYI for anybody that's getting in there for the first time that are having performance issues. Make sure before you run any games that you go into Steam VR video settings and pull your resolution setting back. Because if you already had it set up to like 120, 130, 140, 150, at 100% on this headset is some ridiculous number
It's
that's
4,000.
almost like,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's almost double what my Quest Pro is, which is crazy.
Yeah. So you gotta be sure to pull it back. I think they have updated it because I kept mine set at 100% today, and it was at 3,000 something by 3,000 something on 100%. So they may have updated the firmware for it or something. I don't
It
know.
makes you wonder if it scales with your, I mean, it really should read your video card, and then, because my 100% shouldn't be the same as yours or anybody, you know what I mean? ideally.
It's supposed to multiply the dimensions by like 1.4, right? To like compensate for something. I forget what they called it. I don't remember if it was like some kind of tunneling resolution.
Barrel distortion.
Barrel
It's
distortion.
barrel
That's what
distortion.
it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway, we've had a couple more tips here to get to, and then we need to say hello to our friends in chat so we can get right to it. Backsorn VR, $5 US donation, says finally Quest 3 getting some quality of life upgrades. It is actually, it's getting some really cool features lately. Adjustable mic and Scion Pinnacle windows. I don't know what that means, but you're absolutely right. Quest 3 has got the last 2 or 3 versions of the Quest 3 software have come with a lot of new features, and some of them have been quite cool.
Is it still meta?
It's still
Oh,
meta.
fuck it. Never mind. Fuck meta.
Thank you, Backsorn, for the $5 donation, and VR MC also with the $5 donation says, "Have a good show, strangers. Thanks for the content, and shout out to AJ and the whole PSVR crew. I spent the weekend playing GT7 VR and Dirt Rally 2
Nice.
VR. Awesome.
I need to get back into GT7. That's the one game that actually on my PlayStation 5 calls to me for VR.
Had a lot of good updates on it.
Really?
I don't know the last time you played it, but yeah, they've added new tracks, new cars, new modes, all sorts of things. It is such a phenomenal game.
It's been a long, I mean, probably since it came out, right? We played the shit out of it when PlayStation first dropped.
Oh yeah.
And I've never played multiplayer. I'm scared to. Because people are good. And they don't, there's no, I'm an aggressive driver. Like I believe racing. Like I'll push you out of the way. I'll fucking box you out. I'll spin you. I don't care. And everybody gets so bent out of shape in GT7. I don't, what to me, is there really rules? And I mean, I guess there is in some racing, but.
So they kind of, it is, a lot of people, treat it like a sim racer, like, where in real life, you get into a fight over something like that. But actually Gran Turismo does a really good job of kind of curating that with their lobbies, and people will make, like, they make it really easy to see what lobbies are there for being serious, which ones are there for fun.
Oh, okay.
They probably even have some that say like, bumper cars or something where they make it really, it's really well curated to where you can join the right group of people that for that style, if that's how you want to play. Because I know what you mean. Like it's fun to just sometimes just like crash into each other and try to fishtail each other and everything. There's but yeah, it's set up. It's well designed for that.
Oh, cool.
So let's say hello to our friends in chat so we can really get into the nuts and bolts of this
grab
whole
coffee
deal
while you do
here.
that real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Stingray X is with us, as is Technoglitch. Steve IRE is here. Green Sammy 87's here. Mepper's here. Awesome Tatum. Dave Curry. Looper, the Underground Game Cat, here as well. Backsorn VR in the house.
A lot of familiar faces here. What up, peoples?
Yeah, absolutely.
VR community is the best, isn't it?
Our community is the best for sure. Then Kitty
That's
VR is here. Sun WTF is here as well. What up? What's up, Mr. Lord Beavis? He said, "Oh shit, I didn't see AJ." Yeah, AJ's visiting with us this week.
Shut up, Beavis.
Space Dennison's here. Quadzilla's here. What's up? What's up? Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for Life, is in the house as well.
Scotty.
Chinatown D. What's up, D? Virtual Resistance is here. Grandpa Barbecuer, the Game Cat, is here. Inferno 9. It's Free VR Real Estate is here as well. Blue Jew, the Underground Game Cat. Hello, Julia.
Elite name squad in the house.
Word.
This one.
Hooked Worm, the Hoosier Game Cat. What's up? He says, bring on the VR greatness. For real. Q Creator is here. Durbin Brown is here. Who else? Anybody else? That Dank Cheese in the chat as well. Mark Smith is here. Evan Yabu is here. NS Paul, Escape Portal, what's up? Says he's going to have to catch the replay. Well, enjoy yourself, sir. See you tomorrow. Ezek is here. Gabriel 004 is here. Says nice shirt, AJ.
Oh, thank you. I actually the other day when the PlayStation VR2 adapter went out, for some reason I thought it was going to be in stores. I don't know why I thought that. But I drove around town looking to buy it, to have it like ready day one, and it was nowhere to be found. But I did come away with this nice little Twisted Metal shirt that I got for $5. So it wasn't
awesome.
all for nothing.
How crazy!
It seems like
I was gonna say that's to me what you did is logic. Like, why would it not be in Best Buy or something anyway? Like, I don't know what the fuck Sony or any of these companies can do. It's weird. It's just bizarre to me.
I was really disappointed at first until they ended up shipping it like 1 day shipping, which that made me a little bit happier.
So I paid for overnight, and I didn't get mine for 2 days.
What?
Yeah.
So dumb,
what?
man.
So I didn't pay anything, dude. Y'all need to get a refund. Like anybody, like fuck Sony, dude. If you bought the adapter and they didn't, and you paid extra and it didn't arrive like next day or whatever, like no, even if it did, you should just write them and say people that didn't pay extra shipping got this a day later. I want a refund, and they might actually give it to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, for what it's worth, it wasn't their fault. Like UPS fucked up somewhere along the way. And,
okay. Well,
but still, that's not the point. The point is that I paid for the expedited shipping, and everyone in the world got their thing before I got mine.
That's how it happens, man. Yeah. I knew I saw that shipping thing there. I was like, no, that's bad juju all over it.
Silver Nexus is here. What up? Ghost Shot as well. Hello. Alexander Ritter in the chat as well. Hello. Who else? True Prophecy 22. What up? Old Darth is here. Good to have you back, Darth. Good to see you. AppJ's here as well. Salvador and Philozix. Hello, everybody. Thank you and welcome. See who we had slip in today. Grandpa Barbecuer with another $5 Australian says, to all, the headset can run at 120. I'm assuming that would need to be set on the PC graphics card. If the card's set at 90, that is all the headset would run at. So what you have to do, you change it directly in the Steam VR settings. So you just bring up your little, you hit your pause button to bring up the Steam VR window. You click on the left over where it says VR settings, go to video, and it's right at the top there. There's a button for 90 and a button for 120, and you can just very easily toggle it back and forth. But the one thing you want to be aware of is when you change it, it does have to completely reboot Steam VR. So you can't do it while you're in a game. Essentially, you have to do it. I mean, you can change it while you're in a game, but it's going to reboot, and you're going to have to open the game up again. So yeah, you should have it set to what you want it set when you open the game, or else you're just going to have to start all over again anyway.
And realize that it's going to tax the fuck out of your card. Like he kind of implied there. It better be a game that's very, very well optimized, or you have a very strong thing. Because even myself, like I forgot about my 120 and I jumped into Returnal. And I was like, oh, fuck no, man. I was like, surprised. What is happening, dude?
I was really surprised that those were at least the only two options. I'm surprised there's not like a lower settings for
like 72.
Yeah. You would think they would put an alt mode for it, but Sony's never gone below 90 with any of their VR. Like 90's always been baseline. And for what it's worth, they were reprojecting the 120 on PSVR1, which is crazy to think about these days that they were doing it on that fucking PS4 console. That's nuts. But they were. Shit. I was going to say, Roots. I actually ran Returnal at 120, and it was smooth. Um, but here's the difference. I ran Returnal at 120 with AJ's first person profile that he had already optimized the holy hell out of. So basically, the same settings that allowed him on his 4060 to play and stream Returnal from his computer allowed me to run it at smoothly with the 120 enabled on my computer. Now, obviously, it wasn't generating that many frames. Surely it wasn't. Um, what I'm saying is that my gameplay experience was smooth playing it. Like I couldn't tell it was dropping frames or anything. It was pretty nuts. I was using DLSS and all kinds of smoke and mirrors to make it work, but it worked.
Yeah. Oh, that's all that matters. I'll tell you what, I was able to get it to on the PlayStation. Well, you know what? We're going to be talking about this game, so I'll
Yep.
leave it for that
Yep.
conversation. But I think we missed a couple of
Yeah, we got some slippies, right?
well, Slippies plus a couple of Slippy Inferno 9 4.99 says cheers guys. You may have read that already. And then N
Oh,
Spall
no,
right after
I
that
missed
did
those.
another 4.99 and said nothing, but we love you N Spall for the 4.99. So
Yeah,
very
thank
very
you.
yeah, very quiet but awesome chat. Or
Yeah,
super
thank
chat.
you. You all are awesome. Obviously, we use the donations to buy these adapters, Roots and I. So, thank you to everyone.
And I'm
who's
assuming like
doing it.
some game wise whenever we need to play a game as well. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Now
spent a
let's
lot of money on games these last 2 or 3 weeks. It's been pretty crazy, actually.
let's help get Wes a 4090 so he can rub it in Awesome Tatum's face too.
well, Wes is getting his 4090 as a matter of fact, and he, or whatever, probably even better. But see, this is how awesome Wes is, because we threw out there having people chip in and help him get to that point, and he's like, doesn't want to do it, but he will once he gets to a point where maybe they can help him top it off. But I think you deserve
Just
it,
to get
Wes.
him over.
Yeah. So my thing is, I'm saving money right now. My plan is to get a 5080. People kept saying I need to get a 5090, and I'm like, well, I can't afford it.
I
They're
say
telling me to hold like fundraisers and stuff, which I might do to get me from my 5080 to my 5090.
How much
Whenever the
is
time
that
is.
graphic? Is that is that graphics card available now, or is it coming out
No,
like
no,
next year?
that'll be next year. It'll be next year.
Yeah, so this is the thing. The 4090 I got when I got it was $1,700, and that was without tax. It's more now, but I would
That's actually a
imagine.
pretty good deal. Yeah.
No, you can get them for that now. I actually looked at them the other day. Well, maybe not your specific one, but you can get 4090s right now in the $1,600 to $1,700 range is what the ones I saw in stock.
Comes to
Where they were priced at.
close to 2,000 with tax, but
That
I think it's worth it.
That costs as much as the entire that 1,700 for that 4090. That graphics card alone costs as much as the entire computer I was looking at. That I'm like, oh, one day this will be mine. So,
But get this, AJ. Get this. Like, he goes into these mods and turns the Steam VR resolution up to 150%, maxes everything on Epic in the game,
yeah,
and still has overhead.
that's sick. Yeah, I
It's
can't wait.
crazy,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Like these supercomputers, man. I can't wait for them to become just a little bit more accessible where everybody can obtain one. PCs are already a lot more accessible than they used to be. Like pre-built and everything are a lot better. And then like during special deals and sales, they're just like so much better than what they used to be. It has come a long way because quite frankly, the PC gaming audience has grown significantly. I mean, it is getting to the point to where it is almost becoming competitive with like console gaming, which is obviously dominated for the last 10, 15 years or so. But now, yeah, PC is starting to become a little bit more popular. And as that happens, hopefully a lot of these really big gaming rigs will as well and just continue to grow.
Yeah, because what like a year from now, what's the lowest card people are going to be using, right? As we get generation to generation, like your 4060, I mean, everything is going to get to the point where that maybe that's the low end, right? And that's not,
4060 already feels like the lowest you can go right now.
well, it's still really good. Like Wes said, it's the same thing about where he's at, and he's had a really good experience with VR. So
it is really good, especially it just takes a little bit of like, getting the most out of it, squeezing all the juice out of it, and everything that you can. But it is capable of some really impressive things. Where it struggles the most probably is with like higher resolution, and that's the thing about with these VR headsets being a lot, higher resolution headsets. That's kind of where it struggles a little bit. But it does do things. It's really just about finding a graphics card for you, what your preferences are. This does do a really good job. The 4060 does a great job with like textures and lighting, and it even has like really good ray tracing support, which games like Sackboy's Big Adventure utilize. And but yeah, where it struggles the most is probably with resolution, I'd say. But I can still get it like almost to 2K, so it gets the job done, no doubt.
So we did have a few people slip into the chat at the end there. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Gamecat joining us. Der Schnuff is here as well. 5 Binaka sprays. Mr. Lord Beavis donating another $1.99 to us. Thank you, Beavis. You're awesome. Samson143VR is here as well. Distracted is here as well. And is that everyone? I think that's everyone. If that's Gustavo Barandas is here. Cop Dog's here. Super Galaxy Godstar is here. Chris Richardson is here. EV Man versus Gas. Green Sammy 87. Damn, we had a lot of people.
Duggars K, Maddie Fat Bat Cat. Those both guys slipped right in.
Boom. All right. So I think that's everyone. If I missed you, I apologize. Thank you, everyone. What's up, Tony Savino? He's here as well. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you being here. With that said, let's get into the talk, guys, and let's talk a little bit about this PSVR2 to PC adapter. What's good about it? What's bad about it? What's just okay? What were you saying, Ruuts?
I was gonna say before we do that, I'm looking at the like, damn, it's been 31 minutes already. The poll. I don't know if we want to address that poll real quick.
That's literally what I was about to do.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna go ahead and end the poll. So about a third of people who voted in the poll. Well, where did the damn results go? There it went. About a third, 30% said yes, they got the adapter. 27% said no, they did not. Another 27% said no, but I'm going to. And then 14% just do not have the headset. So that's 57% of people either have it or are looking to get one. And so, yeah, about 6 out of 10. That's a pretty high amount of people. When you consider that, this isn't a PSVR exclusive channel, right? Like, we've got viewers of all types in our crowd. So I think 6 out of 10 right now, in it or going to be in it. That's pretty significant. So, wow, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I was going to get ahead of myself, but let's just talk a little bit about
that
our
all the time.
Yeah. Start talking about the end of the conversation before
you're about to. I do the opposite. I talk about like what happened 5 years ago leading up to this moment. That's called AJing the fuck out of it. I don't know why I do that.
It's good. We these discussions need context, right?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, not as much context as I like to give, but yeah.
So everyone's kind of question coming in here is how is this headset going to stack up versus other consumer level VR headsets. People want to know how, is it going to be as good as a Valve Index? Is it going to be as good as a Reverb G2? And of course, is it going to be as good as a Quest 2 or a Quest 3? We're here to kind of shed a little bit of light on that. And we put it through its paces over the last couple of days, trying a number of games in the headset, and then kind of switching back and forth just to see how it compares at a glance, back to back with the other headsets. And as expected, it's going to depend on which game you're playing and which situation that you're in as to which headset that you're going to want to use. But before we kind of get into it, the details here, I will say that it did exceed my expectations overall going in. I thought that the compromises would be much more than they actually were, and I was very pleasantly surprised at the experience that I had with this. Ruuts, agree or disagree with that statement?
I actually 100% disagree. I mean, I not disagree, agree. I came in with this this thought process that I wasn't going to like the PlayStation VR2 for a lot of different reasons. No pancake lenses, not having adaptive triggers, not having eye tracking, all these different things. And I came out of it like with such a high expectation, or I guess a good experience, that I now question which one's my daily driver. Like, what? I guess it's going to depend on the game, but I'll go into a little bit more detail when we get further in.
AJ, how did it perform versus your expectation?
So leading up to this, I had been testing everything with PC using a Quest 2, and there's some really impressive software that's been developed for that over the years. Things like virtual desktop, and a lot of the software and features. And I was honestly, I'm not going to lie, I'm being completely honest here. I was like getting ready for the PSVR2 adapter launch, and I was like, there's no way that it's going to be as good, equal, or better than this. Like, I just don't see how that's going to happen. I was hoping that like OLED would make a difference, but I was like, is that really going to make a big difference? And then on top of that, there's things like with the software compatibility, like is it going to be just limited to Steam? Is it going to be lacking a lot of features? And I have to admit, I was completely wrong. I was really surprised, going in very skeptical, ended up being really surprised pleasantly. And yeah, it did probably equal, maybe slightly exceed what I had hoped for. And I think at the end of the day, it's still the same kind of boat where like all VR is awesome, and it kind of comes down to what your personal preference is. Some people like convenience, some people like certain technical features. And I think PSVR2 has somewhat earned its way back to the table with all the other headsets that are currently available, the main headsets. And it's earned its place at the table once again. And it's awesome to see, because now we have more choices when it comes to which headset we want to use as our daily driver. So yeah, very pleased so far.
Yeah, I agree with that. Most of what you said there. So let's get into the nuts and bolts and the specifics a little bit here. Starting at the beginning, setup process. Incredibly polished. I don't know why this surprised me as much as it did. Coming from a console company like Sony, they've always done a really great job of making it baby proof, right? Like anyone can get in and set up their console and set up their headset. They really spell it out and make it easy for people. And the same was the case here. Yeah, I mean, you literally just have to hook it all up correctly, which is just a few cables, a USB cable, a DisplayPort cable, and a power cable. And then you download and run the software in Steam, and then it sets up literally like it's part of the console. Ruuts, I mean, it's like when you were setting this thing up, you would think that you're plugged into a PlayStation, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, what's funny, I was shocked. Wes, and I don't know why I was shocked, but when I was doing the setup and it told me to look around and like it was just so easy to get my room mapped out. There was no, and it was the same, you squeeze your trigger, extend your play area. I'm just so used to the jank of the Quest. I'm sorry. Like even when I've gone to use my Quest this week, the last couple days, every time almost I have to redo my fucking thing. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, your lighting's off a little bit. We can't remember where your motherfucker. I just set it up a minute ago. Like, it's just crazy. But so far, I set the PlayStation up once, and that's it. I haven't had to redo it at all. It's always there. And guess what, Wes? When I turn on the headset, it turns on. There's no like, oh, all of a sudden it's not. Oh, we don't know what's going on. You got to restart it 7 times to start the thing. So yeah, no, it's easy use and even just the way this breakout box, and I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, do you think anybody could actually use it, please, to hook up to Meta so I can actually have a compressionless signal? So I don't know.
Well, that's the kind of the crazy thing about this is, when PSVR2 first came out and we heard that it was going to be through a single USB-C, but they weren't going to be streaming video the way that Meta does. We knew that it was a DisplayPort over USB-C. Everyone speculated that this would be some sort of technology that was similar to Virtual Link, but would be like a proprietary version of it that, is encoded in some way by Sony so that their headset can only be used on the console. As it turns out, it's just a regular Virtual Link. Like this PSVR2 PC adapter that they're selling, it's just a fucking Virtual Link adapter. You could have bought one of these 2 years ago. It's literally no different. It's just Sony branded, which tells you a couple of things. And mainly that PC support was always intended. Like why else would they use a PC standard like that if they weren't planning on bringing it to PC at some point? They're not the type to share if they don't, unintentionally, they would lock you out. So that was pretty awesome. And I think it says a lot about why the software is so good for it, right? Like that they're working in known standards with a known, Virtual Link is a known standard. OpenXR is a known standard. That's why the transition has been as good as it is. And the integration is working pretty damn good on day one. AJ, I know you concur with all the setup. I'm sure you had just well, maybe not, because you did have some issues with your controllers for a little while, didn't you?
Oh yeah, no, everything was going fine. Like I can see like how on paper it should be really easy. I mean, you basically just plug it in and you install the app from Steam and you just follow the steps and boom, you're good to go. The problem is that there is a Bluetooth compatibility issue. I think it's a software related bug that's going on right now. And that caused me to have a little bit of issues getting it set up initially, because once that kind of stopped working properly, then I tried to fix that, and then it ended up kind of just domino effect, like one thing after the other started going wrong. But luckily I did end up getting everything fixed. But part of the problem was that they had recommended, one of the recommended devices that they said was to use this TP-Link Bluetooth 5.0 adapter. That has a little bit of an issue right now, where it kind of works. Just getting kind of connected to the Bluetooth was kind of a problem. Like it was trying to connect to my motherboard and I didn't have the antenna on there. So like, yeah, it was a little bit of a learning process. Some people may have, what's that?
Is that how you fixed it? You put the antennas on your computer?
Yeah, so well, there's a couple different things, and but yeah, like so at first I had this USB extender cable, and then I bought a different Bluetooth adapter, and I was having the same issues going on. So when I was using multiple different cables, different adapters, I was like, this is not, when that happens, that usually means that it's not an issue with the cables and the adapters, when the same issues occurring with a bunch of different hardware. But what did end up fixing it was I happened to just get lucky and stumble across, I had this little antenna here. And I was like, well, let me give this a shot. This might fix it. And so I removed all the devices and then reloaded them from a clean, fresh start with the onboard motherboard adapter. And then ever since then, not only did I have really good tracking, but I have now probably the best VR tracking I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
It is insanely good. This also came today. This is the what is it? The Asus USB BT500 that a lot of people have been mentioning. I haven't had a chance to try this yet. But as far as the little Bluetooth dongles, this one is supposed to be the best Bluetooth dongle, but I don't even need it anymore. I'm just going to kind of use it as a backup, because with this, this is the best way to go. And my motherboard Bluetooth is not even a 5.0, it's a 4.2. So I don't know what the problem is.
I think I read somewhere that 4.0 is the minimum standard on it anyway.
Okay.
So if you're at 4.2, you're probably pretty good.
Okay.
So a few words on this.
But other than that, perfect smooth experience. Other than 2 days of fighting with the Bluetooth.
Mine, for what it's worth, was perfect. I didn't have any issues with tracking. Like you said, the tracking has been spot on perfect for me. And I haven't had any of these issues that some people are having. Most people aren't, but there are some people that are having problems with their controller tracking, and it is something down to something with the Bluetooth in most cases. I will say this: if you do have antennas that came with your motherboard and you didn't connect them up like you're supposed to, just connect your antennas up. Those are there for a reason.
Yeah, just connect them.
Right.
It's really the way. It's the way to go. It's the way to go.
Yeah. Ruuts, did you have any trouble with this this Bluetooth stuff?
No, I had I use my controllers and other things all the time with my Bluetooth, so I had it hooked up. And that's one of the things that, and I know a lot of people don't consider this, but I do. When I buy a motherboard, I make sure it's got a really good Bluetooth, and
Me too.
Yeah, if you that like Wes always says, if you get like the mid range, usually they've got like the good stuff, and all the extra shit you're paying for, extra USBs, and you can go really overboard. But if you get middle of the line, you're usually going to get a pretty good one. I did want to before we get too far ahead, I wanted to verbally shout out Bambino Ramos. He said
Bambino Ramos.
Yeah, he said it's his first time. He's was excited to be here live. So Bambino, we're excited that you're here live as well. And
my brother right there.
Yeah, I said he deserves to have a verbal shout out.
What I learned is that you should always use the in most cases, 99%, computers are designed to use the motherboard Bluetooth or the built-in Bluetooth. You should always use that with the antenna. The dongles are for if you don't have Bluetooth on if you don't have any Bluetooth on your PC, that is when you should use the dongle. Otherwise, you should use the built-in one with an antenna.
Yep.
Right. So yes, if you're having trouble with your controllers, definitely look into your Bluetooth. Make sure your antennas are hooked up if you have them. If you don't, not only should you try dongles, like one of these Bluetooth dongles, but you should try it in different USB, because that's the other thing that I've heard a couple of people say that they had issues with was using the wrong USB standard to plug the USB cable into. So you might want to jump that around a little bit and try some different USB jacks. That's kind of like PC troubleshooting 101. If something doesn't work in one USB, try it in another one. But I have heard of that working for a couple of people. So yeah, move your USB cable around, move your Bluetooth dongle around, and see if you can't find a good sweet spot for it all to work.
It
For
helps,
those of
but it still has this intermittent issue because I
right,
tried everything with that dongle because that's all I had at the time. And yeah, it improved it, but it does not help as much as just yeah, I really think it's some kind of software related bug that they need to fix and probably hopefully will fix. I don't know what kind of support PC stuff usually gets. I'd imagine pretty good. Either TP Link needs to release a driver update, or Steam or Sony needs to release an update to fix that.
Somebody in the chat said TP Link. I updated the TP Link drivers and had the same issue, unfortunately. Now, I thought somebody earlier had said something that they updated that. And maybe, I guess it's still an issue. I'm just glad that I didn't have that issue. And what's crazy is what you guys alluded to, because I don't know why, but I've been thinking of this headset as a reverb in a sense, in a lot of ways, just because of and so I was kind of expecting the janky tracking, but it wasn't. I mean, it was if I was facing away from the lights. It's very light sensitive. You have to have good lighting. But if your lighting's good, when I faced my lights, it was very good tracking. The only time I had issues is like when I was in Half-Life 2 and I was trying to shoot directly up for at those things that are that'll pull you up. Like if I went really high like this, I was struggling. I'm just not used to that with the Quest Pro controllers. It doesn't matter how I angle. I just don't ever have that weird dance that you play with. And that was the only time I found it. And it was such a very extreme angle. So
this is the best tracking I've ever experienced. And let me tell you, good, like really good tracking. I did not know how good that actually feels.
right.
Coming from the PSVR 1, I have seen the light now. It is a wow. Yeah, when the tracking is like perfect, which feels like the first time I've ever experienced it, because Quest has good tracking. Like I've had good tracking with Quest, but this feels like perfect. Like, and I've never experienced perfect tracking before, and man, does it feel good.
Yeah, we've come a long way from shaking out our aim controllers, haven't we?
Oh God.
Anyway, setup's pretty easy for most people. Again, the only exclusion being those out there that are having trouble with the Bluetooth. But it seems like the vast majority of people, probably 9 out of 10 people, are having no trouble whatsoever setting it up and everything working just fine. So we move on to kind of the big boost, right? The main event when it comes to using this headset as a PC VR headset, and that is visual quality. And we're going to talk about a few different aspects of visual quality, but we're going to start with the best thing about it: colors and contrast. Because this was probably the biggest difference for me from the headsets that I typically use to the headsets to this headset, was just how much brighter, how much more colorful, how much blacker the blacks were. It really is a great display, and you really do see what the difference is between a regular LCD panel and an OLED that is rated for HDR, even if they can't certify it for PC. This is still an OLED panel that's capable of HDR. The contrast ratio is bananas with this thing. Anyway, as expected, when I use my Quest 3, it's super sharp, but looks a little bit washed out. It doesn't look bad in terms of colors, but the colors are a little washed out. Moving to my G2 from Quest 3 is a noticeable improvement in terms of colors and sharpness. The G2 has an exceptional picture. With that said, the jump from my G2 to my PSVR2 is bigger than the jump from Quest 3 to G2 in terms of colors and brightness. this headset, surprise, surprise, will burn your friggin' retinas out if you let it. Roots, thoughts on colors and contrast of the PSVR2 headset?
It's amazing. This is my Polybius footage that I was recording because I wasn't sure exactly which game we were going to be talking about at that point, and I just recorded the games that I played. And
Right.
I couldn't. This game and Tetris Effect, which we'll be talking about later, I couldn't believe how like the the darks, the colors. I mean, I'm used to it with the Quest Pro because I went into other games, and these games and stuff, and the colors are there, but these are really very vibrant, and this is where I think that the headset really shines is in games like this,
Yeah.
because some of the downfalls that we're going to talk about here in a minute don't seem to exist in games like this or this game. I couldn't see anything that would. I mean, it was like the best display I've seen probably ever. You know, it just
Yeah.
looks so good. I saw somebody in the chat earlier saying something about Quest 3, or no, it said PSVR2 Fresnel less than Quest 3 Pancake. And I get you, brother or sister. I don't know. I don't know who it was. But I used to think that. I don't think that anymore, Wes. My eyes are open that this is exactly what Sony's was going for. And they can't exactly pull it off 100% on the console because it doesn't really have all the power. But at least for me, like I couldn't see any difference. Like I couldn't see any flaws in it. It just looked beautiful.
AJ, think about this. So back when Polybius came to Steam VR from PlayStation VR, the original PlayStation VR, I decided to check it out. Just because, typically when games come from PlayStation to PC, they get a little bit of a boost back then. And it turned out I ended up preferring it on PSVR1, not only because PSVR1 had an OLED panel in it, which made it much more bright and colorful, but PSVR1 was running at 120 hertz versus the 90 hertz or less on PC. So fast forward a few years, here we are all begging Llamasoft to bring Polybius to PSVR2 because we want to experience it with next gen resolution with all the colors and everything, that the headset has to offer. But we didn't get that. We got a new game. We got a good new game. But it's not Polybius.
Yeah.
Now, here we are today, able to play Polybius the way that we wanted to play it all along with the PSVR2 headset, with the high resolution OLED panel at 120 hertz in Steam VR, and it's buttery smooth. Talk a little bit about the display, AJ, the colors specifically.
It looks fantastic. I don't even know, like, some of the games I've played. I haven't actually played Polybius yet with the PSVR 2. And I didn't even realize, I didn't put two and two together that, oh yeah, you can enable the 120 hertz and play it like that. So yeah, it's finally back. Like Polybius is back. But yeah, I played the original, and then I had played using the Quest 2 because I did pick up Polybius again. It's like $7 on Steam. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna grab Polybius. That's like one of the games I can't wait to revisit. Along with a bunch of other PSVR 1 games that are on Steam. But yeah, that was something that was one of the first like noticeable kind of downgrades to me when using the Quest 2 to test it out was even though it got a better resolution, the colors were definitely, I like instantly noticed that. And on the Quest 2 with my settings or whatever, it was only letting me play with 72 frames max. It was something like that. So yeah, but I'm really surprised. Like, to me, I'm like, even though it doesn't have HDR, I'm like, man, that OLED, it really does make a much bigger difference than I had anticipated, because I thought maybe without HDR or something it'd be missing something, but no, you described it perfectly. There are some games that will literally feel like they're burning the insides of your retinas because they're so bright and beautiful and vibrant. But then, like Ruuts was saying, yeah, like it also that's the appeal of OLED is what it can do is those inky blacks. I mean, they are very, very black. You cannot see anything, and it just makes for a wonderful contrast. It is definitely some nice eye candy in terms of the color.
Yeah, Polybius just didn't feel the same to me on Steam until now, right? It felt different. It felt less than, and now that now that we finally have this tool to bring it along to where it deserves to be, it finally feels like a modern game again.
I have a
So
feeling
that's
Jeff
pretty awesome.
Minter's just gonna suddenly start seeing a
Yeah.
increase in sales on Steam here very, very soon. He's gonna be like, "What the hell just happened?"
What's crazy is like when I was playing this, I had forgotten how good this game was, and
It's so good.
it just made me feel like the other games. Not that they suck, it's not this. This is what we wanted, and I enjoyed this so much. Every game that I played today, I played it probably 3 times as long as I planned on playing them. Just because, and especially this one in Tetris Effect, that the blacks were, like you said, they were so dark. Everything is just so perfectly balanced that it was amazing. So
Yeah, it's great.
I
So
can't
let's
wait.
talk a little bit about resolution, because I was actually pleasantly surprised here as well. I had underestimated the ability of the PC to super sample and really eliminate what little bit of SDE that there was visible when using this with a console. Um, and I know I've heard some people talk about Mura. I've heard you talk about Mura, Roots, so I'll let you talk on that a little bit more in a minute. But through the games that I played, I only noticed Mura one time, and I was looking for it. Like everything that I played. Now, granted, I didn't play everything in my fucking library. I'm sure that there's titles out there that it's worse in than others. But everything that I played, it was clean, man. It was just as clean and crisp as my G2, and that I did not expect. I expected it to have a softer look to it, and definitely expected to see that Mira more often than I did. The only time that I saw it was in one of the Tetris Effect levels where it was predominantly white, like the level that I was in, like they had a white background. It was very visible. It looked like a dirty white there. But like in terms of the other games that I played, I didn't even notice it, and I was looking for it. Um, so I was actually pleasantly surprised here, and it actually outperformed my expectations in terms of resolution, screen door effect, and then the dreaded Mira. Roots, talk a little bit about your experience with it.
Well, exactly. It's the opposite of the PlayStation VR2 on Sony. The Mura is the worst on the darks when it's bad, and this is on the lights. The darks, I can never see it. But like you said, in the lights, the first time I saw it is you're in the Steam Home and you're just looking around. You can see it. It's just there. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Steam Home. It doesn't
I don't use
matter.
Steam Home. I have Steam VR Home disabled because you may not know this, but it always runs in the background,
Oh, I
even
did
when you're
not.
playing a game. So I just disable it altogether. I
Uh,
just run straight from the menu.
that's probably
Anyway,
a good
sorry to
idea.
interrupt.
But yeah, so like in there, just like when you're in in that environment or light environments, you can see it. And so it's not always noticeable. But my biggest problem with it, and that's why I'm hoping that there's some kind of a despud tool at some point, because Oculus had it on their CV1s, and you could run a despud tool, and it would get rid of it, and you'd see a little bit more glare, but everything looked crisp. There was no Mura. Mura didn't exist. So hopefully somebody will do that for that. But anyway, so where it bothers me is when there's not Mura, and then I come into like a room where it just, I see it and it wasn't there before, and it just like everything else, and everybody's got their different things that are immersive breaking. Some people it's snap turning, some people it's smooth turning, not turning in their state, in their play space. For me, it's Mura, or distortion, or if I'm going from a really crisp clean looking picture, and then all of a sudden I see this fucking dirty white, or what, like you were describing, it's a problem. It was less of a problem than I would have expected, but it is an issue in those levels, and I think I know what you were talking about for Tetris Effect, because I saw it as well. And
yeah, it was really bad on that one level in Tetris Effect. Which was a bit jarring because everything else was so fucking beautiful, and now all of a sudden this one level looks like crap, pretty much. Anyways, AJ, how did it live up in terms of your expectations for resolution, screen door effect, and Mira?
Yeah, for the most part, when I was, again, I have the luck here is that I've been using a Quest, and I have something to compare, because this is actually like my first true wired VR headset that I've ever used.
This was a big upgrade for you then. It should have
been.
been.
Yeah, I've only used a Quest 2. I mean, maybe I tried some, other ones elsewhere, but just a little bit, maybe some arcades or at a friend's house. But in terms of like what I have a lot of experience with is really just the Quest 2, us and the PSVR1. That's about it. The visual clarity has been really, really nice overall. I now know why compression is bad, and like I now see the difference, and yeah, it is something that you don't really know until you try something else that doesn't have it. And again, I'm gonna allude to just kind of like everything is a trade-off, right? Like with the Quest 2, I had compression using wirelessly, I had latency, I had LCD screen versus OLED. For this one, it is definitely a huge improvement in many ways, but it does have some of its trade-offs as well. And again, it's kind of a give and take with each headset. No headset is just 100% fully round perfect just yet. So
right.
And which is why I'm like, yeah, like they're all great, and some have they all have their advantages and disadvantages. Obviously the big advantage here is that without the compression, with the OLED screen, yeah, you get this just like really nice clarity and depth, and it adds a sense of like realism to the way that everything looks. So in terms of like, yeah, and resolution, yeah, one of the biggest eye openers for me was probably like Subnautica, and going into that for the first time, I could not believe how much of a difference that made. It was so much more than what I had expected. In terms of Mura, honestly, I've noticed it like a little bit here and there. It's not something that has, it's something I'm pretty accustomed to, and I've dealt with. And the good thing about Mura is that your eyes, you stick with it long enough, and like your eyes do kind of adjust. And sometimes it seems like, I swear I saw it before and I can't see it now, or I swear I didn't see it before and now I see it. It's weird the way your eyes adjust to that, and how sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Overall, I've hardly noticed it. Like I've maybe noticed like a little patch of Mura here and there, and I'm like, oh, I see it. But it's like, but yeah, it's not big enough to make a big difference. But there is one game for me where it was noticeable, and it wasn't even the entire game, but it was a certain parts of the game. And that was Half-Life Alyx is actually the first time I started to see it a little bit more predominantly, and a lot of the times it has to do whenever like there's VR games that have fog in it. It's always been kind of a pet peeve of mine with PSVR2 whenever a game has fog, because if it doesn't have like volumetric fog or something that can kind of give more sense of depth and 3D elements to the fog, then that combined with that gray is where I always see Mura the most, is like stuff that's gray. It just really sticks out. It just looks like and it's a little bit of an eyesore. It is like what Ruuts is saying. It can be immersion breaking when it's really noticeable. And yeah, you just want the most clarity and everything possible. But even with Half-Life Alyx, when I saw it through some of the early sections walking through the streets and they have this fog effect, I then started getting to like some later sections where it was starting to get a little darker, and it looked incredible and just crystal clear. Majority of everything I've played has been crystal clear, minus that stupid fog that is like my pet peeve, and I hate it so much.
Right.
But again, the good thing about Mura, for me at least, and for a lot of people I talk to, is that your eyes do kind of adjust to it, and you do kind of just learn to just kind of blank it out or whatever. I can't remember the right word for that.
Yeah, right. Excited for you to finally be playing through Half-Life Alyx. The later half of that game is just nuts. It's incredible.
Nice.
I hope you keep going with it
Oh.
because it's really good.
Oh yeah. Oh, I definitely will. It's just starting to get really good. It starts off a little bit slow, and I'm like,
Yeah.
did they Horizon Call of the Mountain Half-Life here?
No.
And then,
I mean, they
like,
kind of did. It is a little bit nerfed, like in terms of scope, right?
yeah.
Like it's like Half-Life
Just like
2.
eye candy. Like, they focused on the visual aspect of it the most, and the
Right.
interactions, but it's like, okay, where's the game though? Where's the meat and the potatoes? That's what I like the most. But no, even by like chapter 4 or something, like, it's already starting to pick up and get really good.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Duggars K asks, what Steam resolution did I run at? I ran at 100% the whole time. It was like 3,000 and something by 3,000 something. I don't know the exact number, but I ran it at 100% the entire time. And I went in to make sure that both the general default resolution was at 100 and all of the custom per application resolutions were set to 100. And it ran fine. And like I said earlier, half the time I was running at 120 in 120 mode, and it ran well. So um, surprised, honestly, at how well it's running. Um, in terms of, I mean, I don't want to skip too far ahead in the conversation, but comparing the way that this is on day one to the way that the Reverb G2 was on day one, it's like night and day difference. So like this is literally on its first day where it took G2 years to get to, and still in some ways it's ahead of G2, which is kind of crazy, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Right now I want to move on to what one of the biggest differences for me, one of the biggest game changers for me in terms of visuals. As good as the colors and contrasts were, that was kind of expected. Resolution a little better than I expected. What I didn't expect to be as big of a game changer as it turned out to be was the field of view. Quest headsets have always kind of had this binoculars feel to them when you're using them with the restricted field of view. And that to some extent was true of my G2 as well. Although it's not as prominent, it still has a very distinct binocular shape to what you're looking at. That is not the case on the PSVR2. It's just a wide oval that you're looking through here with significantly more field of view, not only vertically, but horizontally as well. This I was not expecting, and it is a pretty big game changer when it comes to immersion. And I guess I'll go back to you, Roots, on this one. Like, we've been asking for more field of view out of headsets for literally for years now. it isn't until now where you just get even just getting a 15-degree bump on both dimensions, you really understand what a big difference maker this actually can be.
Yeah. Yeah. What's crazy to me, and I don't know, maybe I just didn't pay attention. Maybe the console can't give you all the FOV. I didn't, I don't remember having this experience when I was in PlayStation VR2 when it was hooked up to my PS5. I don't remember the FOV being this big, and I'm sure it was. But what I found, and maybe it's because of the FOV, one of the things I've been bitching about the most is the form of this Quest Pro and how much I love it and the openness. And I don't like the PSVR2 is the least comfortable headset for me. Wes, I didn't feel that. I don't know what is the difference? Like, I feel like it's a different headset. I felt like everything that I didn't like before, I like it. I like that it's all dark. It's completely dark. And now it's all isolated, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable. And I don't know. I feel fucking crazy because that doesn't even make sense, dude. Does that make sense?
Normal. It does, because this shit happens to me all the time. Usually it happens with like some games where I'm like, I have no interest in this game. And then I play a game and I'm like, this is terrible. And then I come back to it later and I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And no, I think a lot of stuff with VR in general can be like instantly frustrating and can be like just instantly sour you. But you I guess you just got to kind of stick with it, and then it grows on you, and then you start to see the value or the merit or the thing. But no, you're not crazy, man, because most of the time my headset, my PSVR2 has always been really comfortable, but there are some times where I don't know if it's slipped down or something, and then like all of a sudden it's like fucking pinching my nose, and I'm like, ow, like this is painful. Like I need to get one of those globular cluster things. But 9 times out of 10 it's been fine. So no, you're not crazy, Ruuts. It just changes. It's the thing.
Well, the FOV is amazing. I guess that's my biggest takeaway. It is noticeable on the PlayStation VR2, and it was one of my most favorite things about using it. It did feel like the binocular view is gone, and you don't realize it until you remove yourself from it, and it was very noticeable.
That's a really good shout out there, Wes. Really good catch. It's one of those things. A lot of the times for all different headsets, a lot of things kind of go, overlooked. They get overlooked, and yeah, that is a big difference maker. That probably wouldn't get talked about much otherwise until you mentioned it. Like it's not even something I was thinking about bringing to the conversation today, but no, it's a very good point. Like all these little things can add up and make a big difference. And so good spot there.
So a couple things on comfort really quickly. Jason Westmus agrees, Ruuts. He says, sometimes the PSVR really makes my forehead hurt. Other days it doesn't. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I think some of this at least you might be able to chalk up to the way that you wear the headset. I know for me, so the way that you're supposed to wear this headset is very different than the way that you wear Quest headsets. And sometimes when I'm playing a lot with the Quest headset and I go over to the PSVR2 headset, I find myself trying to put that headset on the way I would Quest, and that's not how you're supposed to wear it. You're supposed to pull that headband down, like really far down the back of your head, and let that forehead pad really kind of sit on top of your brow. And if you're not doing that way, that can cause some real discomfort for you. The other thing, see, I've always found the PSVR2 to be comfortable. The only exception to that is if I have the visor all the way in, the eye cups, the lens cups will pinch my nose. Yeah. But literally all you have to do to fix that is to press the visor button. You don't even have to like move to push it out. If you just press the visor button, it'll just release that tension and move on its own, just enough that you need it to move. Doesn't even really affect the field of view for me. It just pops it out and gets it to where it's not sitting on my nose anymore. And it's perfectly comfortable after that. So if you're having problems with it hurting your nose, just click that visor button and it'll fix it. All right, I want to pick the pace up a little bit here because AJ has a hard out, and I want to make sure we at least get all the way through the PSVR2 conversation before we have to cut him loose. So a little bit on controllers. I don't want to rehash tracking. We already talked about how good the tracking is. If you've got your Bluetooth on point, then the tracking is exceptional.
You just got to have the right hardware
right.
for those, and they'll be fine. If you don't have the right hardware set up, then it's going to have issues until they, like I said, somebody gets something updated or something. But right now there are some issues. I do want to point out, before you move past controllers, I do want to point out one of my favorite things is that I was really worried about is how compatible these controllers are with a lot of the games and with a lot of the things.
Yes.
And big shout out to like what Meta has done and Rift and Oculus has done, and all these XR teams and everything, all these teams and everything, because I feel like because of all the kind of groundwork that they laid, it made this a lot easier to transition to, because it kind of is like the fact that the Quest controllers and the PSVR2 controllers are so similar that all of a sudden a lot of this stuff is like almost like backwards compatible using the PSVR2. It's like, well, it thinks it's a Quest controller, but it just works because of it. Like I was playing Subnautica modded with the Subverse VR mod and the motion controls. That was a huge deal to me, and I was really worried that at launch that wasn't going to work. Well, it works almost like right out the gate, and even in the game, in the main menu, it's showing me Quest 2 controllers, but it works. The entire game works with the PSVR 2 controllers. So just had to give a quick shout to that as well, because that has been so happy. That's why UEVR works. That's why like so many things work. The Oculus exclusives work is because of that compatibility, that parity that they have with the controllers, and that has been one of my favorite things, because that enables access to a lot of games in the library.
So let me ask you this: what the fuck is HP doing then with Reverb? Like, couldn't they do the same fucking thing and just emulate the Oculus controllers? They're also similar, but for whatever reason, Wes for years has been battling this battle, and Sony comes out on day one and just does it flawless. So
yeah, it is kind of weird, because you're right. The Reverb G2 controllers have the exact same button layout as the Sense controllers and the Rift controllers do, but for whatever reason, it took years for the community to release bindings for most of these games and get them working properly with that headset. I mean, it is there now, and the support's really good now, but it took a long time. But with Sony, and it may have something to do with the fact that they integrated OpenXR from the very beginning,
right,
of developing this on the console. The games, for the most part, just work. I only have come across one game so far that the controller bindings didn't work for, and strangely enough, it was the very first game that I tried, and I was like, "Oh no!" But that game was Transference. I wanted to check out Transference in this headset because think about it. It's a very, very, very dark game with all sorts of like colorful light and bloom, and it's got a very high resolution and detailed textures in it. It's a beautiful game and a perfect showcase for OLED. And it looked great in the headset, but it did not convert over to the controllers. I believe the controller support in that game is limited to just Oculus and Vive controllers, if I'm not mistaken. Even on PlayStation VR playing that game, I think you had to use a DualSense controller. I don't think you could use Move controllers. So not a shock that that's the one that it didn't really work in. But everything else I tried in, it just worked perfectly. And that's including mods, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But everything worked great. One more note on controllers before we move past them. One of the more annoying things now is that I have this set of controllers that I have to pair. Like if I've got them paired to my PC now. Now, if I want to go back to playing PSVR2 on my console, I'll have to pair them to my console. I bring it back to my PC, I'll have to pair them back to my PC. Now they'll stay paired. Um, Great. Like all you have to do. That's kind of one of the cool things about the PSVR2 to PC setup is everything has power buttons. You can leave it plugged in all the time and it's just turned off. When you want to use it, you just pick up, hit the power button on the headset, hit the power button on the controllers, and you're ready to play. But it's annoying because Sony doesn't sell extra controllers. At least they didn't last time I checked. And now I'm actually, for the first time ever, in a situation where I want an extra set of controllers, so I can just pick it up and play no matter which way that I'm going with it. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Compatibility we just touched on. Roots, did you have any compatibility issues at all with it?
Actually, I did not. I can't think of one thing that I had issues connecting to it. Everything just worked. A few things, like I said, I realized where I had to scale things back with Vertigo 2, but that's it.
So that brings us to our final verdict. And by the way, did you mentioned Vertigo 2 a couple of times? Did you go back? Did you try setting the Steam VR resolution back and then going back into Vertigo and turning the in-game stuff back up?
No, at that point I did not. I hadn't messed with that. But I mean, I'm telling you, Wes, it must be different for everybody's. It must go by your video card, because mine was like it was over 4,000 something. And it was pretty much double with my Quest Pro, which was like 2,700 by something. So it was kind of crazy, but
yeah, I would do that. I would set it back a little bit in the settings. And by the way, while we're talking about performance, just so everyone knows, when I'm running my G2, which is essentially the same resolution as the PSVR2, 2K per eye. Actually, it's a little bit higher at 2100 something by 2100 something. So it's a little bit higher, actually, more pixels than the PSVR2. I commonly have to turn that thing down to about 70% to get it to run smoothly, which isn't a big deal because you can barely tell the difference visually. It's just such a high resolution panel, you don't really notice pulling it back to 70%. With that said, the PSVR 2 always ran well at 100% for me. So for whatever that's worth, a little bit surprising. Final verdict. So for final verdict, I have two questions written down here. The first one is really the one that's questionable. I think the second one will be something that we all pretty much agree on. But the first question I have is this your new daily driver? And I'll start. For me, my daily driver was Reverb G2. I appreciate my Quest 3, especially in recent months, since it's really been working a lot better and it's been more reliable than it used to be. Used to be it was a crapshoot whether that thing was going to work or not. Last couple of months it has worked well, and when I go to it to use it these days, it's because of compatibility. If my G2 isn't running a mod perfectly well, or some Steam VR game isn't running great, or if I want to play an Oculus exclusive, then I go to my Quest 3. But I always try my G2 first. That's always my go-to. I got to say, now that's not going to be the case anymore. I'm going to go to my PlayStation VR first. The differences in visuals in terms of color and contrast and field of view, it's such a bump and such a big difference that and again, the controller compatibility, the tracking, everything has been so much better than even I expected it to be. I think this is the best experience that I can give myself right now in terms of PCVR. Of course, if I have come across a game where the Mura is particularly noticeable, then I'll switch off to my G2. The cool thing is, like I said before, I can keep them both plugged in at the same time, and it just matters which one I have powered on as to which one will Steam VR will pick up. I don't have to like swap them out or anything like that. The way that they're put together, they just I can turn them on and off and leave them plugged in. So it's pretty awesome. But for me, yeah, this is absolutely my new daily driver. It's a considerably better experience than HP Reverb G2 or Quest 3 for me. I'll go to AJ next because I'm pretty sure that from your Quest 2 coming up, see, it isn't a given though. I say that because obviously the headset is a higher resolution, better headset in almost every way, but it's not a given because you are on a moderate spec PC,
Yeah.
right? And jumping up to all these extra pixels isn't a given that that's going to be the best thing for you. So AJ, is your PSVR2 going to be your daily headset for PCVR going forward?
Well, you're absolutely right because like I said, going into this, I was pretty skeptical that given my situation that I would have a better experience with the PSVR2. I wasn't sure. I was hoping so. That being said, Wes, my Quest 2 is already gone from my house. And I gave it to my little brother earlier who came to visit me because, he loves VR and he doesn't, have a lot of income and stuff to be able to get one. So I said, to me that the convenience of just being able to have one headset as my daily driver is enough of a deciding factor where, but yeah, with all the benefits and everything. And it's really, really exciting to me to have this expanded use of the headset, and it's going to give it some a little bit of a safety net for me keeping my headset, because now I have a really good, we have a really long year ahead with a lot of stuff coming out for PSVR 2, but now I've got not only additional stuff for to use it with, but there's some enhancements, there's some advantages, and then beyond that, regardless of however Sony handles PSVR 2 moving forward, it's like, well, I will have a use for this headset for a very long time now. So it's absolutely my daily driver. I am very happy with it so far, and the features that it offers, and I'm very, very excited about it. And this is awesome, man. This has been awesome, and there's a whole huge library of PC VR games now that I get to just chow down on, and I'm gonna be eating really good, let me tell you.
It's a game changer, isn't it? Like, we never ever again have to even consider going into some of these casual games anymore. We don't have to play cartoony games where you're just going in and cutting people's hair and giving them a shave anymore. Like, we don't have time for that because when there's not when we're in a period of time where there's not a new banger title for PSVR on PlayStation 5, we just mosey right on over to PC and play whatever flat game that we're hoping to play. We can go back and play PlayStation VR1 classics in next gen resolution at 120 hertz now. I can go back right now, and I haven't finished Happy Funland yet on PlayStation. I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to go play it on Steam at 120 hertz. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good by expanding the menu this much. We only have to play the very best now. There's enough great experiences to where we don't have to even play something that's average anymore. We can only play great stuff now.
100% agree. 110% agree. There's a lot of games that I want to play right now that I'm so excited. I can't wait to play this, and there's also stuff to look forward to as well. Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. It is. I am super stoked about this.
Ruuts. You've been a big proponent for your Quest Pro as a PC VR headset, and there are a lot of pluses for it. Obviously, what's your daily driver going to be going for?
Well, for me, the only benefit the Quest Pro really has now is this. Like the headset. Other thing has knocked everything else that I would have loved about it. The pancake lenses that I thought I had to have, I don't necessarily need to have them, because the resolution on this thing and the Fresnel, like it doesn't, like I didn't, not once did I say, oh man, this looks like shit. These aren't pancake. And it's crazy. And the difference for the FOV is huge. Like you don't know until you're feeling that. It's just less claustrophobic. It is what it is. The binocular view, you don't know until you take it off, and all of a sudden you don't feel like you're enclosed in. It's going to make it very difficult for me to go back to the Quest Pro. So my thought is unless I'm playing like walkabout mini golf or like a shooter where I have to be aiming in weird directions, I just don't see a reason to be using my Quest Pro. And I've literally debated selling it, but then I would have to get these Quest 3 to play Quest exclusives, and I refuse to touch the Quest 3, so I'm kind of stuck with the Quest Pro.
Well, you could probably sell your Pro and get a 3 and still have money left over. Honestly,
depending on, I think they're going for like $500-$600 or whatever on
it'd
Facebook
be a
Marketplace.
Trade for you.
But
yeah,
it'd be a trade. But either way, my bottom line, PlayStation VR2 is absolutely my daily driver, and I never thought that would come out of my mouth. But yeah, it's and I have the same situation as you. I've got both of mine hooked up right now, and I just, whichever one I turn on and connect to is the one that I can hook up. So.
You mentioned walkabout mini golf, and that hurts me so bad, because I really wish I could play walkabout mini golf in the PSVR2 headset. The one thing I complain about every time I play walkabout mini golf is field of view. Like being able to line up a shot from far away without having the peripheral vision to see it in the corner of your eye really makes it difficult. But I have to use a different headset because I need the controllers. I always use Quest to play walkabout mini golf because I can put my my Mr. Tass handle on it, and it feels like I can get a two-handed grip and play golf. That's a big enough difference for me to deal with the lack of field of view. So that bothers me. You can't really put that kind of grip on with the Sony controllers because of how enclosed they are. Although I do think that someone made a grip for them for that reason. But I don't have it, so I can't use it. Anyway, there you have it, people. Surprise, surprise. We're all using this as our main PC VR headset going forward. And that probably isn't such a surprise for you all in terms of me and AJ, but
it shocked me.
You've got,
it's definitely a surprise to me. It is definitely a surprise to me. Absolutely.
No, it's great. And you know, so much was said about the features that aren't here, right? People saying that the the headset doesn't have the headset haptics. It doesn't have the eye tracking with dynamic foveated rendering, and all of that is extremely unfortunate. It sucks that that's not here. Hopefully it will be. I believe that we will get some of these features eventually.
I think give it time. I mean, you even plugged into the PC, you turn on the headset and it still rumbles. And I'm like, that sumbitch is rumbling. You're not hooked up to a PSVR2, not hooked up to a PS5 right now. Like that shit is in there. And somebody, I know some people, Wes, I think you do too. Somebody's going to get in there and start cracking those codes and getting some of that compatibility going with some mods and stuff going on. Eventually, eye tracking starting to become more popular. I think the is it not the Vision Pro, the Quest Pro has eye tracking, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, all it needs is just a push. And like people just need a reason. Some of these modders just need a reason to add these things, and
they'll do it. They'll do it for VR chat. Those VR chat guys are crazy.
That was actually my initial thought was that will be the first place we'll see it is for VR chat. But yeah, the modders can kind of clean up and take care of the rest, whatever's missing. It's just you got to be patient, right? That stuff takes time. It took a lot of time for a lot of the comfort of life features that we have that are able to happen on PSVR2. It took a lot of time of that people making those things for Quest first, and that took years, which is why like I give so much praise for all the groundwork that's been laid leading up to this point, because without that it would have been even more minimalistic, more limiting, but that's the beauty of PC playing. PC gaming is like a lot of the times it's like people can just say like if I want that I can just make it. Like fine, you're not going to do it, I'll just do it myself and show you. Yep. And then that sometimes spills back over, and then it starts with some of these mods of like games, like how we saw with Metal Hellsinger getting VR support. One by one, developers are going to start seeing that like, hey, these games can have VR modes and they don't have to be designed with VR in mind. Of course, I want to see native VR games as well, especially having tasted a little bit of like Lone Echo and some of these other exclusives and how amazing they are. I'm like, whoa, like these are legit. Like, see, they can be just designed for VR, but there is, like you were saying, there is a level of quality that we're wanting to experience, that we're craving, and want to experience that. So,
by the way, we're covering Revive, I think, next week, aren't we, Ruuts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So all those Oculus exclusives that everybody's wondering about, we're going to test them all this week in PSVR2 and let you know how they work with Revive.
I did want to say about the controllers too, one thing, because there's not the adaptive triggers and all those extra things, but one thing that I did notice that is there is I think the rumble in those, it's way better than the Quest.
It's better.
It's still better. Yeah, there's still the haptics and all that stuff. It just feels better than it does on the Quest controllers.
You can actually go to the PlayStation app and adjust that if you don't want it to kill the battery life on the controllers. The battery life on those controllers is still not that great.
Yeah, it's not great. It's the same. It's fine for what I use it for. Like, I haven't had them run out on me yet, but they've gotten really low.
But yeah, I'm happy about that. I am happy about how strong that rumble is. That feels really good.
It feels really good.
Yeah, it isn't just that it's strong. It feels different.
Right.
So it isn't as refined as the using it with PlayStation. They have the ability to use it and do some really unique HD haptic effects plugged into the PS5. PC doesn't support that, but just the fact of having that different kind of engine built into the controllers, it has a different feel to it, and it feels better, and it is absolutely strong, like they're saying. But it's better than the Quest controllers. It's better than the G2 controllers. It's better than all of that stuff.
It was so good, Wes. I refused, and I tell all you guys out there, fuck you. I'm not turning it down. I don't care. I gotta plug it in a million times. People were like, "Oh man, you can turn it down." I was like, "No, like I don't want to change the way this feels because it felt really good." So
NS Paul says for $350, there's nothing better, and that's true. And that was kind of the point that I was getting around to, was that maybe it doesn't have headset haptics, maybe it doesn't have eye tracking and dynamic foveated rendering yet, but neither do the other headsets that most people are using to play PCVR right now. This does everything that those headsets do, and it does it better. So I think that's enough, to be quite honest. If people are looking people have $400 and are looking for a PCVR headset. I guess that's the final question of the day. When someone comes up to you and says, what PCVR headset should I buy? I think the answer here is it depends on what other things that you want, right? Like obviously in a vacuum at the price point, nothing is really going to beat this in terms of PCVR performance, but this question never happens inside of a vacuum.
Right.
If you have a PS5 and you really care about a lot about like high quality gaming experiences, then PSVR2 is going to be a no-brainer. That's the one you're going to want to get. But if you don't have a PS5 and maybe the wireless is more important to you, or the ability to take it with you and go show people VR away from your home, Quest 3 is going to be the way for you to go. So I think that's the answer to this question. If you're just looking at what PCVR headset should I buy in a vacuum just for PC, I think it's PlayStation VR2. But if you have these other situations going on where you have a PlayStation or you want to be able to have that wireless, it's just going to vary from person to person, right? There is no clear winner here.
Yeah, I mean, the convenience is a huge thing. I mean, that's what is sold. That's what's gotten the Quest as successful as it is so far. Not everybody is in, especially not like the mainstream casual audience that doesn't know anything about VR. They need that convenience to kind of get in the door and enjoy their first experience with it. They might not enjoy getting all, having the wire and a bunch of other things. And yeah, that is an important thing. And that's why I said every headset, a lot of the headsets anyways, they each have an advantage and disadvantage, and it kind of comes down to personal preference at the end of the day.
But what do you guys think about, like, if somebody has a lower end video card, like even lower than what you've got, maybe like a 2070 or something like that? At some point, the PSVR2 headset would just be too much. Like you'd have to scale back even more, or maybe you have a better experience with that, like Wes.
Not versus a Quest 3. Quest 3 has a similar resolution to it that PSVR 2 has, but it has the extra overhead of having to encode and decode.
Right. Yeah.
So the PSVR 2 actually performs better in most cases versus Quest 3. Now, with that said, there is Quest 2 out there, or Quest Pro. Those both have fewer pixels to render out. So that might make it so that the performance is a little bit better in some situations. So there's always that. But versus Quest 3, like PSVR 2 runs better.
Okay.
Actually.
Does changing it to 90 hertz, that increases your performance, right? Like overall, does that help, like give you some headroom?
For over 120, absolutely. Because 120,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because it's just having to get that many more frames. And I noticed that there were certain, when I was at 120, there was a couple games that I opted to change. Returnal was one of them. I was like, nah, there's no way I'm running this fucking thing at 120, not with the settings that I had it on there.
Yeah, like
I want to go back
like
and
Polybius, you
turn
can
that
run
down.
one. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I just banned somebody from my channel for a comment I just got. they were like,
yeah, I ran Tetris Effect. I ran Tetris Effect at epic settings, which means the in-game rendering resolution was set to 200%, and I ran it in Steam VR with the resolution in Steam VR set to 100% and 120 frames per second, and it was butter fucking smooth.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
And so beautiful too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, AJ, it's 11:15. I think we're at our time with you, aren't we?
Yeah, man. But here's the thing, though, man. You got to promise me that I can come back here and hang out with you guys again, because honestly, it feels like I'm leaving too soon. I could sit here and talk way more, but no, you know what? That's okay. But I really
you have an open invitation,
Absolutely.
my friend. like I said earlier, we're doing Revive next weekend. If you find yourself open and you want to stop by, please feel free. You're always welcome.
Hell yeah, man. If I can, I absolutely will. But Wes and Roots, thank you guys so much, man. It was a lot of fun just talking about this, and man, yeah, y'all are cool as hell, and I appreciate all you do. And like I said, I listen to you every morning. I'm probably not going to listen to you tomorrow morning. Maybe not listen to the first half of the show tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll listen to the second half of the show tomorrow. But
well, what it's worth, most of the show's over now. We've got these 3 games we're going to talk about, but we're not doing full-on reviews. We're just going to talk about our experiences in the PSVR2 playing these games. We're going to give away a copy of Little Nightmares 2, and then we're going to go home. So
nice.
Well, not much left here that you're missing out on.
Feel free to drag it out for another hour. So I have some.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
I no, but really, you guys keep up the great work. You do a wonderful job, and yeah, it's really exciting now that for the past couple months, it's been really exciting that, like, you know, it's like, oh, I have so much more that I can listen to you now for, like, because I used to kind of just skip through to the PSVR stuff, and now it's like, oh, like now I want to hear so much more, and I get to kind of enjoy that firsthand. But really, you guys, you're killing it here. You're doing a great job, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everybody in the chat today. I see all you familiar faces. Love you guys. Appreciate you supporting these guys here. These are good peeps, and yeah, man, I really look forward to hanging out with you guys again soon. And Roots, one of these days, once I get it up and running, we're gonna have to play some WoW together, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I love WoW, dude.
I'll come heal for you or something. Holy Paladin for the win.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, AJ, for doing this. We really appreciate it. Shout out Julia for letting us have AJ for this long. You have a good night, man, and I will talk to you very soon.
Yeah, man. Y'all as well. Y'all have a wonderful night. Love y'all. See ya.
Bye. Easy.
Later. Wow, that was fun, Roots.
That was fun.
Always love having AJ, talking to him. Like a lot of people have been excited about this kind of new direction, new generation, new use for the PSVR2 hardware. But AJ, I don't think I've seen anyone with the type of enthusiasm that he's had for it. Because this kind of, when this was announced, it pretty much gave him the incentive to start looking elsewhere for his games. He's always been a PlayStation gamer, console gamer for all these many years. It took this happening to nudge him to see what else is out there. And as you and I both know, there's a lot more out there, right?
Yeah. So. Well, just in general, for Fallout, let's say Fallout 4. Okay, you can play it. Well, I guess you can't play it yet on PlayStation VR2, right? And they haven't brought it over. But say they did, you can't mod it, right? So like even just simple things like that are different on PC, and a completely different experience, especially with moddings. And then now all these AAA games, and then who would have thought that the best way to use Sony hardware would be on a PC versus the console? And I would have never thought that it was actually going to happen to where we could actually use it, because you know, something's happened in the last few years where the lines have been blurred, and it is what it is. Like, I don't think there's going to be differences very much longer, as far as, I think everything will be played on everything, as far as you know, everything will just be one big thing, one big box.
Certainly possible, but it's cool even just as it is right now, because I mean, not only do we have all these mods to play, and we've got all these new gen VR games, but even like the PSVR1 games that didn't come over to PSVR2, now you can play them and see what they look like in that OLED at those high frequencies. Like, I mean, we talked about Polybius, but there's so many more, like fucking Headmasters people were talking about in the chat, and Solus Project. And I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens of these PSVR1 games that now we can kind of put a fresh new coat of paint on them, upsample the resolution and detail, and look at it through these super bright, high contrast displays. It's a great time to be a VR gamer. That's
It is. Do you think
basically
we'll
what I'm
get?
trying to say.
Do you think we'll get Astrobot on PC? And I know that
Dude, don't
nobody,
talk about Astro Bot.
and like just the original one. You know what I mean? Like we have all these classics coming over, and I know that it's a PC VR. I mean, it's a PlayStation VR game, right? But like, why couldn't it? Like, I would have said there's no way
Certainly,
any of these games were coming over 5 years ago.
certainly anything's possible, right? Like now that Sony is clearly building a PC platform, both for VR and for flat. Um, really, anything's possible now. Like, uh, I mean, we've talked many times about the impact that cloud gaming is going to have on the entire industry, and how it's probably going to cause consoles to get phased out within 2 to 3 generations completely. So what does PlayStation do at that point? Well, they become a software platform, right?
Right.
They become something like a Rockstar or an Ubisoft that's just publishing the best games in the world. You still have to be part of their ecosystem to play these games,
Mm.
but their ecosystem isn't specific to any certain hardware, but rather all hardware.
That makes me wonder, and that's my next question for you. Will we see exclusives like Horizon or GT7 or any of those games on PC where you have to use that headset? And I don't know how they would do it, but like, how cool would that be if you could play, if they brought, all these exclusives over and you still needed the headset, but you could use your power of your PC to play them, right?
Yeah, I don't think that they would do that. I don't think that they would make it exclusive. I don't think Steam would allow them to do that
Mm.
on through Steam VR. Um, with that said, it is possible that they would bring them over and just let everyone play them like they do their flat games, right?
Yeah,
They bring their flat games over and
that's
everyone on
true.
Steam can play them. I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen, but I
Good.
do think that it's a possibility that it could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. As those lines blur, why not? Right. I mean, they clearly have opened their. It's the same thing that why I think that these developers that see UEVR are going to jump on board as time goes on, and the more that you get, the more mass adoption. It's an entire like what company doesn't want to expand to a new audience? Like you have your niche, you've got all your flat shit, and you got all that money coming in, and now you have an ability to reach everybody else in this entirely new ecosphere, and
Yeah,
you
I
don't have
mean
to do
that's
much to
kind of
do it. You
yeah,
know?
that's the thing, right? Like they why wouldn't they be getting behind VR more? Well, it's because of the limited profitability of it. Well, I mean, opening up those games to more players is just an opportunity to make more money. I'm sure it wouldn't take much to convert them um, over to Steam VR games, but the one downside of it might be, you know, obviously the exclusive Sony games have been tailor made to this headset and all of the unique features with the triggers and the haptics and everything that it has going on, the eye tracking. They may not want to water down their exclusive games without those features and bring them over in a less than state for
Maybe
anyone.
maybe that's when they flip a switch and they allow us to use those features, right? I'm sure that they can be used. So, but it'll be interesting. I think it's an exciting time to see what's going to happen. Uh, so
Indeed. Um, anyway, why don't we get back on the path here? I assume that you've got the thing ready to go, and
yep,
let's talk about Tetris Effect, which is the one native VR game that we played this week. Again, we're not going to, re-review these games that we've already reviewed, but rather kind of talk about what our experience were in these games playing with the PlayStation VR2 headset. Um, so, as a baseline, coming in here today, if you were to ask me a week ago, um, where what's the best experience that you can have playing Tetris Effect? I would have said on PlayStation 5 with the PSVR2 headset. And I would still say that today.
I knew you were going to say that.
But it's a lot closer now than it was before. I mean, before we had, we had the thing running at a high frame rate. It was running, I think, at 90 on PS5, with super high resolution. Obviously, you've got the beautiful OLED with all of the colors and everything. And then, of course, what really sets it apart on PlayStation 5 are the haptics in the controllers, in the headset, the integration of the eye tracking, and how you can use your eyes to, trigger certain things in the game. The zone mode comes to mind, for example. You blink your eyes and the zone starts. Things like that really kind of add new layers of immersion to what was already one of the most immersive games that you'll ever play. It was a no contest before this week, but now that PSVR2 headset is on Steam, you've got that OLED. And we talked about it a minute ago. Maybe the haptics aren't exactly the same, but there's definitely a haptic upgrade here with this headset. And this playing it on Steam allows you to play it with even higher resolution at even higher frame rates. So while you are losing those extra haptics and the eye tracking, you are getting something for that trade-off here, right? It is better in some ways.
Yeah, no, it's definitely visually better. I think the haptics don't feel as good for sure. I don't know. I use the Xbox controller and there was haptics, but like everything that we said like before, the art that on the PlayStation VR2 with the PlayStation 5, the art of the way it looked, the music, the haptics, everything came together in kind of this symphony, right? The symphony's still there, but it's like maybe the violin section's missing or something. You know what I mean? Like one section's missing. And so I knew you were going to say that because I felt that way as well. Although this was like, again, the blacks, because this, at least most of these levels, like, because the blacks are so dark and the contrast of colors, like it doesn't even look this, it doesn't look this good on the Quest Pro. And the Quest Pro looks really good because you have the backlit, right? And the pseudo OLED. But this was on next level, and it was amazing. It was one of my favorite games I played today, and I definitely want to go back and finish it, Wes. I went through like 2 or 3 sections, and I was like, it started getting hard, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot how hard this game can get, how fast things go. And it made me remember I love Tetris. I love the game Tetris, and this game is definitely the best way to play it. So
It's beautiful how it ramps, right? Because it literally starts on a baseline of nothing. Black, silence, no music, no haptics. When the first blocks fall, it's like it's in a vacuum. But as you build and start to clear more lines and get further into it, and now you're playing through this board, now you're going in through the next level and the next level, it continually builds and it's hitting your senses from a bunch of different directions at once. The music gets layers added into it, the visuals get layers upon layers added into it until you get to a point where everything kind of comes to a head, and you're starting now to have trouble focusing on the Tetris game that's happening behind all of this other stuff that's happening in the peripheral. And that's where the challenge becomes, right? Is seeing past all of this distraction to basically get into a zone with the game. It's a really unique experience that I really wish everyone would try, because I know on the outside it just looks like it's Tetris in VR, but it's so much more than that. And now that we have like this advanced hardware to experience it on, that only amplifies that aspect of it.
yeah, I can't imagine it looking better on any other headset either. Like even an OLED like big screen beyond or whatever, because it doesn't have 110 field of view, right?
Right,
Like
right.
everything about this game outside of, and I can't remember what level it was, where I saw the Mura on the light levels, or the light level.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
there
it's
was one white level. It almost looked like a grayish brown color instead of white because of all of the Mira.
yeah, yeah. But other than that, like it's weird to me too, Wes, that it's exactly opposite, like I said earlier, from when you play it on PlayStation 5. Usually the Mura issues I have are in the dark scenes, whereas it's, the dark is the best um, with this in the
Yeah,
PC. So,
that's true. It makes me want to go play that Kayak VR Mirage and see what that looks like on PC. Because it looks like if you go on to the PlayStation version of that game, in the daytime they look very similar to what the PC version looks like. At
mm,
nighttime though, the Mira will just fucking knock you over. It's makes it for me unplayable to play nighttime
right.
scenes on the PlayStation version. So I'm wondering if PC would make any kind of difference with that at all.
I
Um,
guarantee the nights look amazing and the day looks like shit. It's complete opposite because the light is so light in there. You know what I mean? And but I think AJ was right earlier when he said that it's kind of like a gray issue more than a white. Like if it's a grayish
yeah.
and then certain textures really amplify that Mira look. And I'm just hoping that somebody has some way to diffuse it or get rid of it, because for me, I would rather have glare. Glare doesn't bother me, because it's only like specific white on black and very, very specific. And it just, you don't see that very often. So,
Bambino Ramos says, "You know who else forgets how hard things can get?"
yeah, she's been quiet tonight. You see my
Yeah,
gameplay here, Wes, how I was like bobbing to the music. The music is so amazing in this game.
I was
Um,
doing the same thing.
the the the
Uh,
the audio track is just so good, and I really love this game, and I'm glad we chose to go into it today and revisit it, because it reminded me that this is just a game I like to go in and just play from time to time,
right.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah, and you put it in that campaign mode, and you can still like knock off levels and you know stop and come back to it. You don't have to make your way through a whole like run to uh to make progress. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. But I was doing the same thing. I was sitting here dancing in my chair playing this thing.
it's just such a good game, and like you said,
Yeah,
I wish
it's
more
great.
people would play it, and not think of it as Tetris in VR, because it's more than that.
Yeah, it's one of the most artistic games I've ever played.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Patty Cat slipping in late. What's up, Patty Cat? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Let's move on and start talking about these mods. This first one here we've talked about at great length many times on our channel. We've even streamed it before, that being the Half-Life 2 VR mod. It's almost difficult to talk about this as a mod, Roots, because it's so integrated now. It's more like an unofficial VR version, but it's kind of a quasi-official VR version because it is, while it wasn't developed by Meta, it's certainly supported by them, and to the point where literally there is no modding involved here. You install the flat version of Half-Life 2, you go download from the Steam store the VR add-on for it, the VR mod. It automatically downloads it and installs it for you in Steam, and now all of a sudden you have this VR game to play. Um, Roots, this mod has been updated since we last played it. Did you notice that? Like the user interface is much easier to use now. They've polished up a few different little quality of life things to make it more like a polished VR game, and I really appreciated that aspect of it.
Yeah, no, I did. Outside of the a few of the things that are moddy type of things, like the when it makes you select different things that are outside of the game menu. Other than that, everything else feels pretty much native, right? And yeah, I was very impressed. Not only how everything was streamlined. But I remember the first time I played this mod back in the day, and it had load screens that were
Yeah.
significant, right? And now you get to those same spots, and it's like maybe half a second. I mean,
Yep.
enough to where you see it, but it's over as soon as you see it, and it's so seamless. So
Yeah, this out of all the stuff we played this week, this was the one that really grabbed me. You're talking about Tetris grabbed you. Tetris kind of grabbed me. Half-Life 2 VR absolutely grabbed me. I did not want to stop playing this. I played it for hours and only quit because I had to check some other stuff out before showtime. Um, I started over, Roots. Like I completely started over with a new save on this, even though I was probably halfway or more through the game. I just wanted to experience it all again in this new hardware.
yeah, me too. I literally started over, and this video is not exactly what I would want for
You
the
know
half.
how good did this game look? Like obviously, it's got some older character models. It's got some older or low resolution textures in certain areas. But I found this to be still better looking than the majority of VR games that we play these days.
Yeah, no, it looked amazing, and like especially even just the very beginning when you saw what's his name, the villain, right?
Yeah, the G-Man.
Yeah, G-Man. I could not believe how good that looked. I was like, holy crap, that was amazing.
Did you find the wrong video? You picked
Yeah, I'm
like
trying to.
a
I
clip.
think I got it here. I just gotta rename it so I know which one to find when I do it. But they're gonna get to look at this nice menu. Look how amazing that menu looks, Wes. Like I would not have thought that the menu could look that good. Um,
It's a
but
great looking menu, Rich.
yeah, it's an amazing looking menu. What the hell? But yeah, no, it'll be fixed here in a second.
Patty Cat says, "Damn, this game was incredible flat. I can't wait to play in VR." So what's your situation, Patty Cat? Do you have a PC to play on? Do you have a PSVR2 headset? Is that something that you're looking to get into? Like, are you going to be a PC VR gamer soon because of this? Um, Earlier in the chat or earlier in the episode, we had deduced that roughly 6 out of 10 people in the chat were going to be playing PlayStation VR and PC pretty soon. So I'd be happy to know where you fall at in all of this.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah, no, this is a great game to play in VR. It plays pretty close to like a native VR game. I mean, you can't run around grabbing everything, but like most Valve games, there are a lot of things that you can grab in it. Um, the gunplay feels good and natural in it. And what I really like about it, Roots, is it's the same type of game as a Half-Life Alex, but it has so many more layers on top of it because there's so many more weapons that you can find and use in it. It's laid out more like a traditional game the way that you run through it. Um, it's really you know, Half-Life Alex is more immersive than this, and the story is, I would say, between the two is comparable. But in terms of gameplay itself, I feel like Half-Life 2 has a lot more to offer than Half-Life Alex.
That's got so much more. Like I was saying before to you, I think um for me the beginning area where I was getting chased around, by enemies and stuff felt like so much more action than the entire game of Half-Life Alex. And eh, I don't know. I just thought it was it's got so much more gameplay to me than that.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm only a few hours into this new gameplay, and I've already made my way through a few different, significantly different environments. I've already had a turret gunner firing at me that I've had to sneak my way around to get behind him and kill him.
That
I've
was
had a
cool.
fucking helicopter coming after me trying to blast me with a chain gun from the air. That was quite difficult. There's been some underwater sections where I've had to swim through and find my way through some maze-like stuff. There's secrets hidden everywhere, where you can kind of move off the beaten path a little bit and find some health and ammo and things that you need. It's just an exceptional game. It's a legendary video game for a reason, and like I said before, they very much have made this into a full-fledged VR game, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck those guards, by the way. What a bunch of pricks. Like, I don't know if you fucked with them or not, but I get chased by guards so many times just by like trying to mess with them or talk to them or I throw something at them. I guess maybe they can have a reason to get pissed at me, but I'm just not a big fan of those jerks.
Regos Pantaleon says, I was going to play this today, but then I started messing with mods in Skyrim, and 4 hours later, I didn't get to start this. Dude, it's so easy. It's so easy to do. You
Easiest mod
literally
ever.
just install it and play it, man. That's it. You do have to tweak the settings a little bit, but not much. Ruuts, I did, since we are talking about this through the lens of PlayStation VR2, I did find the angle on the pistol to be a little bit off. When I went in there, it wasn't at a comfortable angle. I would like stick my hand out straight and it would be pointing up in the air. And I would have to kind of bend my wrist down to aim aim down the sights. But there's a setting in the options where you can pull that angle back a little bit. And I did that. And after I did that, it was absolutely perfect.
I just spammed the bullets. What I love about this mod too is it like gives you a lot of options. Right off the bat, it asks you, do you want to pick up your ammo? No, I don't. I just want to run over it and have it end up in my inventory. I know there's other people that would be complete opposite. They want to grab it. I don't. I just put it in my shit. One less thing to worry about. And it was seamless. I thought it was cool.
This mod has a proper seated mode. So like if you're like me and you want to sit in the chair and not feel like a midget, you don't have to. You just click the seated mode on and it works perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an excellent game. Again, with the color palette in this game, and I would have expected a lot more Mura in this. This was the game that I really went in expecting. I'm going to see a lot of Mura in here. Nothing, man. Just crystal clear, like highly crisp, colorful imagery in this game. It's never looked as good as it did today.
Yeah, I didn't really see much Mura, if I can remember any at all, and it was just ironic because what AJ said about Half-Life Alyx is exactly true. I went into it and the beginning areas, you could see it right pretty easily, So this game, I don't know, whatever they did with it, I think also probably has something to do with it as well.
And how cool is the climbing in this, where you get to the top of the thing and instead of having to kind of mount it and have it work half the time like a lot of VR games, they just, when you get to the top of the ladder, all you gotta do is let go and it teleports you to where you should be at.
It's amazing.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It's amazing. And it's a perfect example of what we always say, where they need to make games in VR more streamlined. And they're so worried about it, making it, and I get it because some people freak out about it, but like, okay, that's not real life. It doesn't need to be real life. This is a fucking game. How can you make it go really easy to where when I climb the ladder, I don't have to worry about mounting the platform? Well, what Wes just said is it. I just see the yellow box. When I see that box, I let go and I know that's where I'm going to be. And it fucking works. And, maybe there's a place for, having to mount. Like if you want to play a gymnastics game, yeah, okay, I see you need to push up on and mount. It's not a simulator. It's Half-Life 2. So I think it's amazing. And I think the sense of scale in this game was amazing. Everything about it. I think you said this is the best way to play it. And look at that guy. He's pissed at me. I got my hands up, bro. I did throw some Chinese food at him, but yeah, no, I had a lot of fun in here, and I actually went. I spent a couple hours in this, and I went further than I've ever gone, and I want to go back and actually I want to finish the game, and I haven't really felt that way before. So,
Steve says that this mod probably has the best throwing mechanics in any VR game. You might be right about that. The throwing is really good. It feels really good in it.
yeah. None of these people would help me either, Wes. They kept telling me I can't talk to you. I can't be seen talking to you. It's like, fuck you, man. I need help, bro. I don't know where to go. I was scared. That looks
sellouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, City 17 looks amazing. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like, a lot of these textures and assets have been upgraded with new detail. Some of them haven't. Like, a lot of the like ground textures, especially when you're like out of the city, are really low res. But the vistas that you see in these very big areas are just beautiful. And again, even despite a few of the flaws here in terms of just kind of dated graphics, this game still visually looks way better than most modern VR games look.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is one of the best things you can play in VR right now, ladies and gents, and it's absolutely free to get the mod and easy to install
and cheap. How expensive is Half-Life 2 for the flat version?
It's like $7.
$7, yeah. So,
yeah. So highly recommend it. Those of you who are new to PC with your PSVR headsets, definitely should pick this one up and check it out today. It's awesome. So last but not least, we tried out Returnal, which is a game that I've played in VR a little bit before. But it was different before. Ruuts, the first time I played this, I played it as a straight injected mod with a gamepad. The performance on my G2 when I tried it before was not good. It wasn't unplayable, but it was close to unplayable. Like it was pretty choppy. But it was amazing to be in that world, and I could definitely see the promise in it there. So I went back in this today with my PSVR2, and I loaded in AJ's profile that he built for it because I knew that he had highly optimized it to get it to run on his 4060. So I thought, well, man, if it runs on his 4060, it should run great on my 3080 Ti. And I was right. It did. But not only that, Ruuts, but AJ's profile is configured to first person with motion controls, which honestly makes this into a whole different game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'll try it eventually as far as the whole different game. But I was telling you that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to play it in first person. It's not even because it would be too hard, which I think it would be. Like, I really love the movement of it. Like today when I was playing, just the zipping around and dashing and coming up like into dashing sideways into enemies and slicing them. And like, there's just certain things you wouldn't be able to do in first person right. The same way. And so like, I don't want to change it, you know, but I think what I would wish I could do, and I guess it wouldn't be that hard. And maybe AJ, as you're listening to this tomorrow morning, maybe there's another, he could have the same settings to make it optimized, but not have it be first person and have the controllers be the same but the optimization as well. Then I'd be a little bit more interested in that. But this game is so good that, I love it. You know what I mean? Made me want to go back in and continue playing. Now, one thing you'll notice for me on this, I had to turn, because I didn't have the optimizations, I had to turn down my my settings from what was it? Everything's on low, I believe, just to get it to hover at 45 ASW, is what I'm assuming it is, and right. And it seemed smooth and flawless. So
Yeah. So the way AJ's things work is some things are on low, some things are on high, some things are on ultra. It just depends on which ones you're talking about. He's found a good mix so that you can get certain things turned up and leave other things low. And it hovers right around 45, as just like yours. Um, and again, you use DLSS and other things to fill it on out and get it to 90 for the headset. Like I said, though, I played it in 120, and while it wasn't perfect, it was really good. Like I didn't think about the fact that I forgot to turn it back down to 90 until after I got out of it, and I was like, oh, you know what? I bet it would have been even better if I had turned it down to 90. Um, but I played this for a little while today, man. I had fun with it. It is a different game, first person. You're right. You definitely can't be jumping sideways and dashing sideways in this game so much. Um, and it is more challenging in some ways, because of the fact that you can't see what's behind your character, without turning around and looking. But with that said, it's nice to be able to point your gun at something and shoot it, and have everything scaled up, um, so that you're really seeing this from the ground level view, right? As if you're really in there doing it. Um, I'm not going to say that one way is better than the other, but I will say that both ways are worth playing, and it's a really cool experience to play it like it's a VR game. Um, I hope that I can learn to uh, tweak and optimize the way that AJ does, so that I can really, jack it up even more for my graphics card, and continue to play it in the PlayStation VR headset, which it's absolutely stunning to look at through that OLED panel.
yeah, because it's so dark in so many of these scenes. It is amazing. And yeah, no, I think it's definitely the beauty of that first person thing is it does change it completely. Even though it's not something that I necessarily would want, but maybe someday I do. And now I've got a game that I already loved and it completely is refreshed and new, right? And for someone like Wes that pretty fucking good at this game, I kind of need something to be a little bit harder.
Oh, I suck at it now. I suck at it in first person. Like, I
It's
get
hard.
my ass handed to me. Like I can't make it through the first biome right now. Um, it's just going to take some time. Like everything's different. Like even though like the platforming in this is different from first person, you really have to. It's going to take some getting used to the jumping and dashing in this and getting it right, because there's some precision things you have to do in this game, right? Like the
Right.
movement. Some areas you have to be really precise with the movements, and I'm just not that good yet. Um,
Takes practice.
yeah, it does. But I want to learn. It's got enough cool factor to it that makes me want to get good again.
Oh, how good did this look? I don't know if you looked at this, had this scenery as well, where like the moon was out and the trees and shit.
Oh
This,
yeah, I
it
did.
looked so good in there. It was such a cool thing. But where I think this actually could benefit, and maybe we do this, Wes, where we both use the first person thing. It's a little bit easier with two people when you play the multiplayer.
Now
And
that
so,
makes sense. Maybe
yeah,
I can't see what's behind me, but you can, right? And I can
right.
see what's behind you.
Absolutely.
So
And I think that would actually give you more of a reason to need multiplayer than you do normally.
that's a good idea. So yeah, maybe as time goes on, we get a little experience behind us at playing this in first person. Uh, we get in here together and take it on. That's the cool thing, is that you can, um, which I don't know, can you do like a regular run in this in co-op?
I believe so. Yeah, no, you actually, I believe you're inviting somebody into your game, or they're joining you. Now that I just switched this, if you notice, this is my, I had gone into Quest Pro, and so this is with, I believe some of my settings turned up, from low lighting and all the shit to different settings, and I was able to get it to a steady 72 versus that 45, And even though the
Right.
45 felt good, this felt a lot better as far as the fluidness. And so it was one of those things, but it looked, the colors were very similar, but it didn't look as good, I don't think. But
That makes sense. But no, this was a kind of a perfect test for the OLEDs. One of the reasons why we chose this game is because it is so dark, and it does have a lot of glowy stuff. Kind of the same reason I would try to go in the transference is because it has that same color palette um, going on with it. But a beautiful game, fun to play, and it definitely works as a VR game, which is cool. Sion says this would be like the first thing he's going to play in VR. Um, just be aware, this is a very demanding game. You will have to
scale
work
things.
to make it run smoothly. You know.
It's amazing. Like I made me remember why I love this game. The weapons, the going in this yellow room and like having the door slam shut behind you and you got to fucking take out. I mean, it's just crazy. I just love games like this. And I think Returnal is probably, in my opinion, one of the best games that exclusives that's came out for PlayStation 5 so far.
Yeah,
That's-
and there is some there are some concessions that you have to make. At least it seems that way. Playing this first person, um, I haven't been able to find a way to configure the controls to um, bring up the pause map. Like you've got your little map in the right hand corner, but I like using that pause map to look back at where I've been, and you can't get to the pause screen from first person. You have to go to the keyboard and hit escape to
Mm,
bring up the pause menu, which kind of sucks.
that does kind of suck.
Um, yeah, and all the controls are a little bit different. You have to kind of change some things around. So it's definitely easier to play in that aspect from third person. Um, but it's awesome both ways. Yeah, I think everyone should try it both ways and
You
see
know who
how they
loves
like
to
it.
try it both ways, Wes?
My
Oh yes, she does.
mom.
Yeah, a lot.
That's a good point, Looper. Looper says, "Don't you want to play Returnal with DualSense anyway for the adaptive triggers?" Yeah, that did add a lot to the game. It was something I was thinking about too with Tetris Effect. You know, the haptics and everything didn't translate over to the Sense controllers, but had I plugged in my DualSense and played with a gamepad,
Right.
I probably would have.
I
And if I
almost
had
did.
done that, yeah, the only thing I would have been missing out on had I done that would be the eye tracking thing, which is a relatively small thing.
Right.
Um, so you know what, PC might be the way to play that game if you use a DualSense controller with it.
Yeah, I agree. I almost did hook it up, but I looked around my room. I didn't see it anywhere readily available. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm not gonna go searching for my controller. I just don't use my PlayStation anymore. Or actually, I don't have a PlayStation. I've got a controller, I think, somewhere around here. So I think I got one.
Patty Cat said, "Well, I mean, if not, might be worth picking one up just for PC gaming.
I'm
Like
pretty sure I've
$70
got.
or
I had
something like that."
two, and when I sold my PlayStation 5 to my roommate, I gave him the one. So
Patty Cat says this looks like a completely different game from what I saw on AJ stream. Yeah, it plays way different from third person, and it might be the best way to play it's in third person. Um, I'm just saying that it's cool to be able to play it from first person, and it's a different game. Um, yeah, it's literally a different game the
well,
way it plays.
that's why the UEVR mod is so amazing. Is like not only does it bring these games into VR, it also gives you a good way of being able to adjust things, right? And yeah, it's just super cool.
VRMC says, could you use DualSense to play in first person and just use head aiming? You know what? You probably could, and that would probably be another cool way to try.
Right.
It's certainly going to be more precise, the aiming. I love playing gamepad VR games with head aiming Roots. I think
It's the best
when
way.
it's when it's put together right, you can really feel like a badass, right?
I
Quick to
I I,
the shot.
I kind of feel like it's in a lot of ways, at least for hybrid games. It's the actually for hybrid games, absolutely, it's the superior way to play. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, you just end up being a badass, and you can really, you can like I'm aiming at that person when I'm looking at them. It's so much easier than any type of aiming I've ever done flat wise. Right, I'm about to go in the yellow room, Wes. He's
Oh no,
about
don't
to
do
get
it, Roots.
crazy. Yeah, I made sure I had a good gun, but I don't think I
It's a
make
good
it out of
idea.
here alive. Yeah. That's the thing is like, I just say this is like the best roguelite type of game as far as like everything's set up perfectly. So,
Anyways, ran well, surprisingly well, thanks to AJ, and looked absolutely beautiful in the headset. Again, it's a little too early for me to say I recommend people like doing it in first person as the best way to play because I don't know that it is the best way to play, but it's certainly a cool experience and something everyone should try just to experience it. Um, it's nuts. It's chaos, and we love chaos.
yeah. And you better, if you're going to play first person, this is all I have to tell you. And this is kind of third person as well, but don't stop moving. And especially in
Yeah,
first
don't
person, you
stop.
can't. As soon as you stop moving, you're going to get hit by something. I guarantee it, because you can't see what's coming from behind you, and that's already the case of flat, or I mean not flat, but third person. So
Yeah, you can't stop. You gotta just move constantly until the room's clear.
right,
Anyway, that's what we played this week on PSVR2. We had moderately high hopes for it. It surpassed all expectations, which is great. Um, and that's pretty much our show. Although we do have one more small piece of business to attend to here, and that is our Little Nightmares 2 giveaway, which I'm completely ill prepared for, Roots. So I'm going to let you talk to the chat while I assign all the entrants a number.
all right. Well, I'll tell you what. Oprah's excited. Wes, she's getting her shocker on, and she loves to give away games. And although she thinks for some reason we're giving away multiple copies, not everybody. There's only one. It's not you and you and you. It's you get a game. And yeah.
You
So
know what? I'm thinking I might do something else here for just for the live people, the people that stayed up late and showed up for this episode. So don't tune out just yet, people, because I've got an idea
all
here.
right. I love ideas. I love
All
Oprah.
right.
What a cool show. Like over the years, right? Super cool.
Yeah, she's a good person too, from what I hear.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things, but you know what I mean? I guarantee there's people that have heard mixed things about me. And I'm a peach, Wes. So nice. Actually I am
So
nice.
going through here and assigning numbers. Dog, come in or don't, dude.
It's his show, he said. Actually, I always hear
Apparently,
you
I
saying
keep
that.
opening the door for him, and he doesn't walk through. He just stares at me when I open the door. Main fan says, when you guys use UEVR, are you increasing the render resolution in the UEVR menu? It's essential. It's in the runtime section. I usually increase it to around 1.5, but I have a 4090. Have you been doing that, Roots?
Say that again. So what have I made? I didn't even see that main fan was in here.
No, I'm reading the comments as I'm going through and giving people numbers.
Oh, I gotcha. So have I ever done it? Done what? Super sampled it and.
Have you increased the render resolution in the UEVR menu?
Oh yeah. So there's I can't remember exactly where that's at, but there's somewhere you can do that, and I've done that. I've some games I've cranked them up in every way you can imagine, cranking it up, and it still runs. But I was humbled today, Wes, when I went into Vertigo 2, and and I had to scale things back. I said, okay, the 4090 is a beast, but it has its limits.
I've never tried doing it in the View VR menu. I wonder what's the advantage to doing it from there versus the regular in-game menu or the um, Steam VR settings.
That's a good question, especially since we're running typically in OpenXR. I wonder if that would be, it
You
might
know
be
what?
better to do it that way.
I'll tell you what. One big advantage of that would be is I typically am not running in Steam VR when I do UVR. I've always been on a Quest or a WMR headset, which I run natively without running Steam VR. So I'd say in those scenarios, it would be very useful because you don't have that Steam VR thing to adjust.
That's true. That's true. It says Wes is supposed to assign the wife the job of numbering. Hey, Michelle's busy. Shit to do.
She is. It's all right though. We're getting there. Wolfheart JG is number 9. Let's see here. Steve Pollard will be number 10.
Awesome Tatum says, it's past my bedtime. Love you. Dude, you're going to miss that special thing Wes is doing for the live
Yeah,
people.
we're gonna give away. We're gonna do another giveaway here in just a second, just for live.
So you got to be here. So give us another 5 minutes. I still got to go clean. So I got work to do myself.
13. We're almost there.
Stig
is number 14.
Looper says in-game menu doesn't affect UVR resolution, but it may change the menu panel sizes. Hey, that's a good point, Looper, because we're always bitching about when we crank stuff up, all of a sudden the panels, you can't see the in-game menus anymore, right?
Yeah, that does happen. Recently someone was complaining about that happening.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I usually doesn't bother me, but there's every once in a while it makes it very difficult to see what's going on. I think it was MainFan. Remember, he couldn't get. At least that was with the Luke Ross mod.
Right. We're up to 17 entrants now and still going.
All right. Well, we got this. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat here. Mepper says I'm here, but I'm not here. It's late. What's up, Mepper? I'll tell you what. I'm in the same boat right now. As a matter of fact, I'm literally here, but I'm not here because my camera's Colorado time in it at the moment. But it says, are you guys gonna stream the VR show on the 15th?
I don't think we will be here. I'm sure I'll be reacting to it somewhere, whether that be Without Parole or Q2C or whatever.
What's the 15th?
It's the VR Games Showcase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will be hearing about that a week later when Wes is like, hey, did you watch the showcase? I'm like, no, I didn't. What happened on it? I can't do showcases, Wes. Because usually they're...
It's only going to be about 20 minutes long, 25, something like that. And it's only from top studios.
But even that, like, I would rather have someone like yourself break it down and tell me what's important. I just don't care about the showcases. They typically, my experience is they're wasting my time with most of it. And then there's peppered in a couple of good, sometimes not, last couple of years have been pretty pathetic for most of these shows, right?
Well, that's why we're getting this. This is a new showcase that's being put together and hosted by Jamie Feltham. Jamie Feltham was the person that originally started the Upload VR showcase. And they were good
when they were
Jamie
good.
Feltham,
yeah, exactly.
Was at but now he's left Upload a couple of years ago, and they went downhill since then. So now he's doing it again, and it's going to be awesome again.
Well, you know what the beauty of him versus Upload, at least from my experience of what I'm seeing Upload, is Upload seems to just cover what they get paid to cover, and he seems to actually care about VR, and you know what I mean. That makes a big difference when you're running a show. So
yeah, that helps for sure. Anyways, we have 19 entrants. All have been assigned a number next to their name. Now we go to random.org random number generator to see which number is the winner, and by extension, which name is the winner. Generate. 16. Number 16 is the winner, and that is Roy Schwartz. Congratulations, Roy Schwartz. You have won a copy of Little Nightmares 2 for Steam. A beautiful, awesome UEVR title. Bruce, I bet this would be another good one for the PlayStation headset. I almost went back in it today just because I know it's such a dark game. It would be very well suited for the OLED.
oh, it's perfect for it. It would be it's not the best streaming game because it's so dark and it doesn't show up, doesn't translate for whatever. How do they fix that, Wes? With these OLED games that are dark, you can't, when you try to stream it or watch a recording, you can't see shit for what's going on in there.
I know how to fix it with my video editor. Like if I make, because I used to do pre-recorded videos of a lot of horror games, so I figured out how to fix it in editing. I don't know about streaming. I don't know if there's anything in OBS that would allow you to add that extra bit of brightness to it, but certainly doable from a recording standpoint.
Adjust the gamma, Looper says. Okay.
There we go. All right, so give me just a second. I'm going to grab something, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do here before we sign off for the night.
All right. And Techno Glitch won the... Oh, wait, it wasn't Tech, was it?
You don't take no shit from anyone.
He doesn't take any shit from anyone.
Talk to y'all later.
I love these.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
Now we're going to let my dog out. Go on, dog. All right, so we're going to give away another copy of Little Nightmares 2 for Steam VR, specifically to people who have PlayStation VR2 headsets and are now playing PC VR. This is my celebration gift to you. Congratulations, all of you, for finally making it over to the PC space and for staying up late and talking to us about it. So specifically for these players, the first person that can, let's see here. We got a good question for them. All right.
What's the name of Oprah's husband? No, I'm just kidding. I know that was. Just saying.
So the first person who can in the chat type the barcode number from their package, from their adapter, will win a copy of Little Nightmares. That way, you have to have this box in your hand to be able to win.
You know who else loves to check their package? The package?
My mom!
Yeah.
There's a barcode on your package. It's on a sticker attached to your package. There's a 10-digit number under that barcode. First person in the chat that can type that number will win a copy of Little Nightmares 2.
Do you feel like VR? Are you on? Oh wait, VR MC says Stedman. Yeah, you got it. How big of a box? That was actually a big box for that little bit of.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
And if it's and they put this little box in a much bigger box. So when it sat on my porch, I was like, "Damn, how big is this thing actually going to be?" Like,
it's very protected.
Yeah.
It was way too big of a box on both counts.
Absolutely.
Uh-oh. D says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think that's right, D.
Well, at least 3 out of the 10 people that are watching should have the box, except for people like Regos Pantaleon. doesn't want to get up and grab his box. So the game's not worth it for him to stand up, apparently.
You know who loves grabbing their box?
My mom.
Looper says, "What's on stake?" We're giving away an extra copy of Little Nightmares 2 on Steam. Looper just won it.
117971959. Yours has got a different number. You must have a EU version
EU.
or something.
Oh, he owns it already.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody else is even going to bother anyway.
Well, we'll see. Somebody's running to get their box right now. Flippy Nuggets just realized Ragos Pantaleon said, "You know what? No one else is doing it. I'm getting up out of bed. I'm getting it right now. This is my game."
So Looper's number is slightly different than mine. It must just be because
Looper he says, "Whoever types adapter in the chat gets my copy." And there you go. Quadzilla making it easy. Getting it done.
I didn't say that.
Wes is like, nope, that's not working.
It's not Looper's show, man. Anybody can say the word adapter. I want to give something to people that bought this adapter. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get Looper a different game because it's not like I had an extra key for this.
That's true.
I was just.
That's true.
Looper, I'll be in touch with you. I'll find another UEVR game that you don't have already, and we'll give that to you. And if you want to hand it off to somebody, you can. That's up to you.
But yeah, that's a good point though, yeah. Wes, because literally Wes is the reason why he's doing that is so that somebody that has a PSVR2 headset with the adapter is going to be playing that game or a game.
Yeah, it's a special occasion. I wanted to celebrate. I thought more people would be willing to stand up and get their box.
Well, this is 2024, Wes. This is the same crowd of people that say it's got to be wireless because I want a John Wick all over my room, and then give us shit for sitting down, but they won't get it. Then nobody wants to go do it. I'm not giving you shit. If I was laying down ready to go to sleep, I don't think I'm getting up either. So.
Looper's already trying to dictate which game I'm going to get him now, too. He's asking for $60 games.
Well, what is there? Maybe we find a key for you, Looper.
Yeah, if I can find it cheaper, maybe we'll get you that one.
We'll
figure it out. We'll work it out. Anyway, that's our show for this week, friends. I want to thank everyone for staying up late. Of course, if you liked the episode, please hit the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
I miss
and ring the bell.
AJ. I had his net. He was supposed to be up there right now, just chilling.
Yeah.
We miss you, AJ.
We'll be back this Saturday, where we will be covering Oculus games on PSVR2. We're going to use Revive this week and run the gamut on all those big first-party exclusive titles to Rift and see how they run on PSVR2. Ruuts, I betcha that those games will never have looked so beautiful.
I almost went into one, Wes, but I held off. I said I want to wait until we're actually covering it. So.
Yeah, me too. There's a lot of good ones, ones that you forget about sometimes too. Like I saw Beardo Benjo playing Lies Beneath the other day, and oh yeah, remember how good that was.
I want to play more.
One.
I want to continue on Chronos. That was my main thing. I'm like, I already want to go back and play. Now I have a reason to go back and.
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't want to stop that one. Now we don't have to.
Yeah.
Of course, there's Stormland and there's Asgard's Wrath. There's Wilson's Heart. Lone Echo 1 and 2. I never finished Lone Echo 2 Roots. Good reason to get back into that.
That's a beautiful game too, especially the space.
Edge of Nowhere.
I love that game.
There's lots of great games. So this should be a fun week for us. But that's the next time we'll be back on a Saturday. I got a lot of work to do tomorrow. Like I said earlier, the VR game showcases this week. Flat to VR Studios very involved with the VR games showcase, so you're not going to want to miss it. but it means I have a lot of work to do on the PR front behind the scenes. Not only that, but Gamescom's next week, and the home of VR or home of XR is going to be there. A lot of our clients at Impact are going to be at Gamescom. So again, I'm going to be very busy tomorrow. So this is our show for the week. But we'll be back on Saturday talking about some of the best VR games in the world. So again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and make sure you ring the bell. Of course, if you haven't already, you could support us on Patreon. As little as $3 per month gets you access to insider updates, show notes, exclusive content, get you in the credits at the end of the show, get you a vote for Game of the Year. All of this for less than $1 per week, and you get our eternal gratitude for giving us the ability to buy things like PC adapters for our PlayStation VR2. Ruuts would not have a reason to be using his PlayStation VR2 anymore if it weren't for your donations. You all have done this, so thank you.
Absolutely. And like, how many games, like you said, that literally not for just us, not for just the chat, but for just so many games have been bought this week. It's crazy. So.
Somebody, I think it might have been Looper in the Discord, saying that Ghost of Tsushima, for whatever reason, looks way better on the PSVR2 headset.
Yeah, I need to go back into that game anyway because I really actually did enjoy it. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll do Luke Ross the week after.
Yeah,
after we do.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
After we do Revive this week, we can go back into like Elden Ring and Atomic Heart and all that stuff. You know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, those of you who don't have money to donate, we got you covered. You can come hang out with us on Discord for 100% free. There's a invitation link in the description down below. This is where we hang out 24/7, 365, talking about VR, talking about life, talking about almost anything. We don't talk about some things. Like we don't talk about religion or politics. We talk a little bit about religion. We don't talk very much about politics anymore or social issues. Those are divisive subjects, and we ban them outright. But besides that, you pretty much talk about anything or anyone that you want to. And for the most part, it's a very laid-back, relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's a free-for-all. It's chaos. No, it's not.
It's not chaos, but it's fun.
Rogue TR says, I wonder if Stormland still works with co-op and Revive. I used to have issues and you needed to log in. Well, we'll find out for you. Tune in on Sunday. Did you let Tommy in? You need to get him out if you did. Anyways, yeah, sorry, my cat started squealing and yelling. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna go find out.
I think he was excited about the PlayStation VR2 personally, in the way how good it's working with the PC.
Me too. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you on Saturday. You have a good night. Bye.
Take it easy.